Always think of you when spring comes, like it's something in the air at that time. Don't know why. Always dream of you when spring comes. It's like the heat on my skin takes me back to the time met you on a Friday, halfway out at the door of the club, playing soul on the weekends. Stayed in bed till Wednesday. Fell in love with you right there and then. I was young, couldn't see that. Couldn't see that. Leather jacket, though it's too cold. Saw your face in the crowd, and I think without eyes, her just perfect. Yeah, she's beautiful. Never thought you'd be here. It took me by surprise when I met you in the doorway. I had a friend of a friend. Never thought I would see you this soon, but hope she really loves you. 'Cause I swear you deserve everything. Wish that I knew that sooner. We got sober, it was over, but I told you I'll do it all over again. At your place or a spring break, a heartache, I'll do it all over again. Do it all over Tell me a lie, and I tell you too. I say that I'm happy for the two of you. You wanna be friends, but I don't think I can. But I wanna be happy, happy for you.
Talk to me nice, talk to me honestly. Look in my eyes, don't let it fall on me. Say you're a good guy, make me believe it. Don't wanna hear it, I wanna see it. See how rewind, when we rewind, feels so nice. We time, you I know how to
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for the third season of the Badass University All-Stars. I'm McCready, and joining me, just as we start the first season of this yet again, it's going to be Jerry, the man of music.
The man of music it is. Hello, how are you doing, McCready? I'm so glad to be here. Badass University All Star Season 3. We've made it. We've journeyed on this train together for quite some distance, and it's exciting. I've noticed you're looking like you got a little bit of a different background there, Creedy.
I do. I've moved my flat now that I've actually apparently finished university. I don't know what that means. I'm scared.
Congratulations.
But
It means
yeah.
it means that you're no longer allowed in this league. I'm sorry.
I am for this season actually,
Oh,
because
fine.
alumni
Alright.
are actually allowed in the summer kind of edition. But as soon as we hit September, Jerry,
Very smart.
I'm done. It's over for me. There's no point anymore.
I'm 26, so I've just been like riding on this. I don't know how. Like I finished my degree like years ago.
Capture
So
your youth, mate.
yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yes.
Yeah. So why don't you take us through what's going on this season? It's going to be exciting. Lots of well, an interesting change to especially the teams. I think is a good place to start.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm looking at these teams and I'm saying, okay, well, there are three that I know and three that barely changed. Those are the Imperial Mandem, Team Triton, and Lockdown Ludens. Now just the Ludens, actually. All three of these teams performed very, very well last season and were invited to remain as their roster because they qualified for playoffs. Whereas one of the other teams, a fourth team that made it, they didn't really want to, so... Oh well. The rest of the teams, however, they went through a drafting system, so the captains were able to pick based on the seeding of players. So I'm not exactly sure how it went down, but essentially it's to allow for more balanced games and making sure that if you're on these teams, you're playing with people that you might not normally play with. I mean, I'm looking towards teams like... let's take a look at Man I Love Frogs, one of our first teams today. You have Angelo, El Nina, and Hazard. These three players do actually know each other. They know each other as well, but filling up that kind of roster, you've got Titchy from last season, and you've got David Bob 32 from... I do want to kind of flex a little bit. I'm still part of it, Jerry. David Bob is from Cardiff University. He's going to be
Right.
filling up the gaps, and I feel like that's going to be a lot of fun. You look towards other teams as well. I mean, Hoggy Woggy. That's a interesting name, and I'm going to love it when you say that, but...
I can't wait
looking
to.
at that team, and you've got a very strong team on paper. You look at the Hyde, Vabs from the Newell Lucan 2 team.
Yeah, and Mosef, Mr. Joe, and Closer closing out that roster as well.
Ooh,
Funny you should
I like that.
mention Newell as well, because we've got a few other names across the rosters. Earl Grey playing on Veggie Patch, and Reich playing on Team 9. Yeah, an interesting kind of spread of these slightly more experienced players, shall we say? I mean, they've got the UKIN 2 experience. It's certainly something to be proud of. But yeah, let's... my mouth is catching up with me. There we go. I've caught up. It does this weird thing. I'll get it sorted. I know exactly how to fix it. So yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Do not worry about it. But yeah, that's part of the drafting system. Is to make sure that you don't have three players who have all played together in UKIN 2 all on the same team, because I would absolutely be bricking it. But that's something I do want to talk about, because shockingly enough, Jerry, you weren't there for the last season of UKIN 2, but Earl Grey is certainly a name that you've seen before in the season before. Is a name that you recognize. And in the last season of UKIN 2 in particular, I really want to talk about the game sense that this man has had. He has really stepped up in a massive way to take an IGL role. I feel like Veggie Patch, rounded out with players like Sturksy and Tsunami from Plymouth, then Stakes from, I believe it is Reading as well. You look at that roster, and I think that's going to be one of the heavy hitters here. But obviously, they still have that competition. Look at Team Triton. That's a scary roster, as I'm sure you'll remember, Jerry.
Yeah, Team Triton were fantastic and deserved their victory at the end of last season. So just a brilliant roster, and we will be seeing them later on tonight in the third match of the evening. But just to sort of run you potentially through the schedule for tonight, we do have Team Man I Love Frogs with
No, you gotta say abbreviation.
a very tasty abbreviation. Oh,
You've
what
gotta
was
say
that?
it.
Oh, we have to say, okay, Team MILF versus Team Atlas. And then second up, we have Ludens, the returning side, against the Combat Wombats. That's definitely up there for my name of the season, I think. And then Veggie Patch will be facing the champions in Team Triton in our third and final match of the day. We do, of course, have a couple of matches tomorrow as well to round off the first play day, as it were. Imperium of Mandem versus the Deviants, and then Poggy Woggy versus Team 9. So, yeah, it's a good lot of names, and I'm always excited by the new names that show up in this league. It's one of the most exciting things for me. Combat Wombats, Man Love Frogs, Veggie Patch, all great. Poggy Woggy especially, I'm looking forward to saying that on cast.
Oh, I'm looking forward to hearing it so many times. So many beautiful times. But let's take a look towards our first game here. Now, like you've said, it's going to be MILF going up against Atlas. And these players on these teams are very, very interesting. I've already said about MILF. I've already talked about Man I Love Frogs. Let's take a look at Atlas. Atlantic is on this team. As I'm sure you remember from the last season as well. You're yet again a veteran coming through with that captain spot. You have Nati or Ethan. LTJoeBear.std on this name. I'm sure we'll find a way to abbreviate that. He's not the only one we've got. We've got another guy called STD. Mally, actually a good friend of mine, played last season as well. I don't know why they chose that abbreviation though, but I mean...
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to work out if it's another team name that they might be affiliated with, but I can't think of it.
It is, but probably not one you'd know, as far as I remember. But you look over towards the other players. Ella Senpai. There we go.
Ella Senpai.
That's an interesting name because I don't recognize it at all. I look towards that final player, Sashi's. All I know is his actual name is Ted, so I'm going to call him Ted.
Okay, Ted. That's it. That's a lot easier than the massive amount. There's like one vowel amongst the 7 or 8 letters in his name, and that's not a friendly one to pronounce. So yeah,
it's a rough one. But yeah, coming out from Sunderland University, he's going to be wanting to fill in the gaps because Sunderland, they've also got a good bit of renown behind them, I think, with players in the university scene.
Yeah. Well, you certainly know a fair bit more about that university scene than I do. You're such a wealth of knowledge, McCready. It's something I'm very
It's almost like I'm
jealous
part
of
it, Jerry.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's almost like you're in it, and you're in it knee deep, and you're sort of soaking up all of that tasty knowledge. I'm excited for today's matchup, mainly because it's the start of a new season in Bull, and this always happens in Bull, where the very start of the new season, you've got these new teams that come together because, of course, the sort of philosophy here at Badass University All-Stars is that you get a mix of universities in that each roster is comprised of members of different universities as opposed to some other university leagues out there. So it's a sort of a different type of competition. And with the draft system coming in this season, just to sort of level the playing field somewhat, I feel as though this, again, is one of those kind of first day of Bull days where we're not expecting to see incredible like coordination and strats come out, but the start of a kind of formative process essentially of teams getting to know each other, getting to understand the synergies within each other's play and finding their roles, finding their feet, finding what maps they may be good on. Of course, with a best of one format, that may be a little bit tricky, but we'll see how things go on as time goes on, and obviously time to scrim, time to practice will all play into that. So I'm expecting it to be fairly messy. I would be surprised if Triton in particular and Ludens don't come out with wins today because they have had that time to gel. They've got the experience. So Veggie Patch and Combat Wombat certainly have a difficult task ahead of them by my reckoning. But Team MILF and Team Atlas are completely unknown quantities in terms of, well, teams, but the players on them. As you mentioned, some familiar faces. So it'll be exciting.
Yeah, I look towards the Man I Love Frogs team, and I have to say it right here, Jerry. It's a bit of bias, obviously, because being a uni league player, captain, or whatever, just being involved. Shockingly enough, I know quite a few of the players. I've played with quite a few of them. El Nina and David Bob definitely fall into that category. El Nina, a good friend of mine as well. Me and her, we play a lot when it just comes to unranked, and then David Bob 32 was actually one of my flex support players for my Cardiff University second team last season, Jerry.
Oh, nice.
So I have to say there's a little bit of bias there, but I'm really looking forward to seeing a good game. Like you said, the formation and getting that synergy together, that's really what this first Playday is about. You don't have those heavy hitters of the Ludens and Team Triton to play against immediately. you have time to start really just putting pen to paper and get some work on the board. I think that's the best way to describe it. Bit weird, bit confusing, I know. But immediately, I'm going to move away from my little bit of verbal diarrhea and ask about the maps. What do you expect to see, Jerry?
Well, this is the hardest question because we have no no intel to go off besides the odd player having preference. We know, for instance, while you're on the subject of Man I Love Frogs, Angelo and Tichy, both very capable players that have shown their hands in Bool in the past. But I mean, now that they're no longer a part of their previous rosters, we could be anywhere. I would not be surprised if we end up on a Clubhouse or an Oregon just as a safe bet for a lot of these sites. Everyone will know how to play them. If we end up on anything more rare than, say, a Villa, I'll be gobsmacked. Any coastlines, chalets, or consulates, I think, are, at that end of the spectrum where I just don't expect to see them today. Unless it's a really smart ban phase from Ludens and Triton. This first map, I think it's going to be played safe.
Yeah, I mean, if we can, let's bring up these map bands. Let's take a look. Let's see exactly what we're going to be playing with now. Constant Coastline, like you said, yeah, you take those maps off the board. You're not comfortable with it. You want to go with those maps that you know what you expect, which is why Chalet and CAF get taken away. Like you said, they're a little bit more out there, but Club, CAF, Club, Villa, and Oregon. Still all three maps on the board. The question is, which one are we heading to, Jerry?
If it's Oregon, oh wow, okay. So I pretty much called it. I'm very happy with that. Not only that, the order, Consulate, Coastline, Chalet being right off the bat, I'm very happy with myself. That's like a kind of almost a preference order from start to finish of every single one of these maps. Cafe does see a little bit less play recently, and Villa a little bit more. So I don't know if that's entirely fair. I still feel like Cafe's above Villa. But yeah, pretty much that is exactly the play rate from left to right, with right being most played. Last season, I'm going to see if I can get up the last season stats as quickly as possible. How quickly can I navigate through Liquipedia, McCready?
While you do that, I'm going to explain very quickly for those who may just be looking at this for the first time and saying, well, Oregon, why are you talking about these map stats? Oregon's going to be a map that's picked every single day, every single week. No, we have the autoban system in place, so where you see Consulate and Coastline on your screen, for moving on, instead of seeing those first two bans, the maps that each team have played will be banned for 2 weeks. So after today, Atlas and Man I Love Frogs aren't going to be able to play Oregon, and this just breathes in new life. And not only is the philosophy of Bool to get to play with new people, get to have new experiences, it also kind of translates a bit to the map pool. So we are going to have that opportunity for maps like Chalet to really shine. Maps like Coastline to catch us off guard. I mean, we saw an actually weirdly large amount of Consulate last season, didn't we?
Yeah, it's unusual to see it appear as much as it did. We had 4 across the entire season, which is still the least played, but only by a couple, Coastline and Chalet having 5 each. It's Clubhouse and Oregon that were the big ones. We saw Clubhouse a lot in the finals as well. And then Cafe and Villa sort of in that middle area. But yeah, certainly more Chalet than I expected. I just remember it coming out on the first Playday of last season. I'll never forget that game. It's still one of my favourite games ever. Max hitting 26. That's ingrained in my mind. But before we head into the match, McCready, I feel as though now is a good time to make this special announcement. So you've all been waiting for some joy in your lives, and we can now tell you that on the 3rd and 4th of December, there will be a Badass University All-Stars LAN final for this season. That's right, LAN, baby. We're going to have a LAN. I'm so pumped for that, okay? If that's not the start we need to get ourselves rolling into the very first map, then I don't know what is. McCready, how exciting is a LAN for you?
Yes, the 3rd and 4th of September, we're going to be having that LAN final. Do not listen to the December, it's the September, obviously.
Did I say December?
Yeah, I mean,
oh, wow.
I've been there as well. I get really messed up sometimes when it comes to these days. But anyway, it doesn't matter because we're getting into the game. Obviously, you can't get to the final without starting things out. So, going to Oregon, a Thatcher ban, coming out on board, I'm going to predict the future. It's Maverick. And we're going to see a Cade ban because these operators, it just makes it way too easy for the attackers, especially when you take into account no 20-second meta anymore. So if they're allowed to get into sight very fast, then the defenders are really at a disadvantage. The attackers have a lot of time to make adaptations and adjustments and really decide what we're going to do with this push. Now, The defensive bans, they have an opportunity to help or hinder that, don't they?
Yeah, they certainly do. And the Kaid ban is a fairly common one, especially if you see the Thatcher and Maverick come through. There's really no way of removing Electricals besides a Kali in that situation, and she does not lend herself well to this map, especially attacking the basement. So getting rid of him just makes attacking that basement somewhat more possible, and it's kind of removing a lot of the high power threats. Here we are. This is essentially a very high power ban phase, just bringing the intensity and the protection of every single round down a bit. Mirror so potent, especially on the basement in this map, and yeah. This is about as stock a ban phase as you could possibly imagine. I suppose sometimes you might see, say for instance, a Nomad ban on Oregon just to enable the defenders to have a little bit more freedom, but then, you know, the trade-off there is that you don't ban the Maverick, and the Maverick just makes entrance so easy, not just to the basement, but also I'm thinking about a big tower attack through Attic towards Kids' dorms, because he just bypasses any sort of breach denial, and we're not actually seeing any breach denial at all on the side of MILF, which is a bit puzzling to me when you look at those bans. It's more like they're going in hard with this sort of anti, this catching utility. They did show the Kavera, but they decided to flash back off that, and instead they've got the Aruni, the Wamai for catching, and then lots of delay. The smoke and the Goyo, plenty of shields, plenty of time and literal burning. And then the Alder for good measure at the end of it. This is a beastly composition, but like I say, no wall denial.
Yeah, but this is definitely one that's in the position of, well, okay, you're not in the worst spot at the moment, because you look at this and you say, as a defender, the name of the game isn't stopping them getting these breaches open. We've already done that a lot with the ban phase that you got, your Thatcher, your Maverick. It's a lot more difficult to get this utility open. They need to assume that you're bringing utility denial unless they can see all 5 players right there. You still waste that time. You're still forcing them to play after that as well. Not only are you going to have to try and actually get the breach open and start pushing onto site, but you need to deal with that drop down of Hazard. You need to deal with the impact tricking that I think that White is going to be using. We'll just fire off a few bullets, start us off, but nothing really going to start Atlas. Play it safe, get the drone work done, do your basics. This is the place to get the basics right.
Lenina also in a position with those 2 impacts in pocket to try and deny any breach on that wall. And with both an Ace and the Hibana in play, there's quite a lot of denying you'll have to do. The first Selma comes out, is placed high to try and make it harder to impact trick, and Lenina will be unsuccessful in that attempt. And the first frag is going to come through, and that is the Zofia of Nut bringing down the Alder wielding Lenina, who is, well, 0 for 2 on any kind of success rate this round, not landing that impact and not landing or dying to the peak. So that's unfortunate for Lenina.
Yes, and Nate is going to be able to pick up a second now with a very strong start to this round. Looking at Heizo, trying to stave off this push. Hazard has to be defended. You have to keep an eye over towards that Attic side, because FO12 is droning it. Ruri is going to be following on, ready to put that pressure on, and has the Nomads, like you said. Flanks aren't as big of an issue. Half the round is left, and Hazard waiting. Knows that a gunfight is going to need to be taken. Atlas, holding a lot of the cards here, will be wanting to keep this advantage, keep on being able to win it, and Heizo might just get picked off if Nati decides to walk in. I'm ticking down. Heiser will get on the offensive, but Source is going to find that first frag, and now a 2 versus 5. David Bob's going to pop off, finding 1. Will be refragged, and suddenly the push is coming into sight. No C4 to deny that plant. It will be going down to Sasachi, and Hazard's able to find the head of Source. Will go in the rotate, stops the plant going down, but he doesn't. The last 2 players are in Attic, and a post-plant situation.
It's going to be very difficult. He does not know the players come through the rotate, or maybe he does, sends a couple of bullets away, but Hazard just falling to the few peaks there of Raj. A valiant attempt at the clutch, doing incredible work, even when the position was known of the Wamai, but a 1v4 is always going to be difficult. You've got to give your hat a doff to that player, but wasn't quite enough. So, Hazard, good job, but yeah, not quite enough. Excellent job, though, by Team Atlas. Nate especially getting those 2 entry frags, making a massive difference. I've got to feel sorry as well for Heizo, who was playing as that smoke just close on the door into Wolf and just swung at the wrong time. you were kind of like, we were kind of like, cheering him on to try and go for the swing, and then he just waits a few too many seconds, and Source pushes exactly the same time. It's one of those siege timing things, maybe playing off the sound, but not expecting such a wide swing from the Twitch. And just little moments like that came to define the round, but mostly it was the entry couple from Nate that swung it in Atlas's favour.
Yeah, immediately you're looking at Milth in a disadvantage. Moving into this round, what I want to see from maybe David is a bit more aggression with these Goyo Shield placements. I mean, you want to be ideally being able to use these before that first kill has taken place, so maybe put it towards that Master. Maybe have a trophy set up that you show them that you're there, and you pull back immediately, but they still have to burn the utility. They still have to drone you out. That's an adaptation I'd maybe like to see, but I feel like at the moment we're looking at MILF and they'd say, right, we'll do the same thing again. I feel like if we just don't get as aggressive, maybe El Nina, maybe if she doesn't go for these peaks and can get that impact made, maybe that round would have played out differently. We're going to find out whether that is the case, though. Atlas bringing the same lineup because, well, it goddamn worked, didn't it, Jerry?
Certainly did. This is the sort of philosophy on a lot of attacks nowadays. You bring that lineup that's going to work in every instance, and we're seeing a certain rise in Yana, that operator at the top of your screen there. FO12 bringing along the Dutch Moon unit, and she's just fantastic. She does everything. She gathers intel. She has those frag grenades. She's got an excellent gun in the G36C, or if you want to be a little bit dicey, you can bring the low mag count of her alternate weapon. I forget, is it the A? No, it's not the AK. It's the... Oh, wow. That's an entry kill and a half. Lenina going down again, unfortunately, to Sashis this time. The ace finding that key opening frag.
Yeah, no refrag coming out from MILF, though, so they're just having to wait out. These walls, they will get open, and Sachi's going to be able to open it up. A little bit of a bug, but luckily, second one will go off. You'll have a perfect rotate to go through. Don't worry too much. Now, FO12, I want to see a lot more information collection at the moment. I want to see flank cams coming through, because Tichy, real opportunity to stop this entire push, but Ruri and Source are going to make sure that that doesn't happen just yet. They're going to be able to find 2 kills on their own. Hazza finds Sachi, gets the diffuser. It's now locked in no man's land, and Source will have to rotate around. Hazza's going to be able to find another one. Hazza doing a lot of work so far to start things off. Tichy able to add on to that, but the plan has started to go down.
Suffocating push coming through from the attackers from every angle, but Hazza, the one thing that was mostly stopping them, has now been felled, and now it's all up to Tichy on the retake. Does actually find NJ Source going for the defuse plant in rotate. How risky is that? Now it's a 1 versus 1 effectively. Raj, his position known, sort of. He was last seen in this small dorms area, but Tichy very aware that he's close. He has time to play with the attacker. Raj does have time to try and push on through. Knows that Tichy was last seen up here, gives his position away, and now just a cat and mouse game. But Raj swings it and lands the shots onto Hazza. Gets the credit with the final down as well onto the Wamai. Clutching out in the 1 versus 1, and Team Atlas once again taking an attacking round.
I like that. I feel like MILF are making the right choice of heading downstairs now. They looked at it, they said, right, maybe we can do a few things slightly differently and we can win it out. Well, apparently that's not the case. I mean, you had the same positioning, the same lineup. You're going to try something different. You're going to head down to the bottom floor. On the flip side, though, Ruri, really well played with that last position. You were able to finally knock out Hazza, who had caused a lot of issues for your team, putting you in that 1v2 situation. You're able to knock them down. And then suddenly you realize, okay, that diffuser, it's gone. Source died with it over towards game side. How am I going to deal with this player? It came down to a bit of a bait. Tichy had to try and find something. I feel like with the C4, Tichy would have easily been able to win that. You wait for the post plant, you go down, but instead was able to have that impact made and won the gunfight regardless. Well, nearly.
Yeah, it's just about.
A little bit tired, okay?
It's an interesting choice between, and a lot of operators have this choice between the Impact and the C4. I'm thinking the Thunderbird even, newest operator in the, in the ranked pool at least. You don't get to play with her competitive yet because we've still got this quarantine system in play. But
it's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, I do like the. I think that we could honestly get rid of that by now. I feel like with 1 op per season, maybe it's something that we could get rid of. I think Doki was one to suggest this. Maybe, on Twitter, but yeah, I could get behind that. Either way,
I feel, Jerry, we're at the point where Ubisoft have definitely got down to balancing operators a lot better. I mean, you look at the
Oh,
last
yeah.
couple, everyone's been like, oh, we're worried about it. But then they took a lot of feedback on with the test server. I mean, you look at Callie, she was very, very aggressive, and then they said, right, your ADS time isn't an issue, so we're going to start nerfing that. And then she came out a balanced operator. She is a calculated pick, I think I'm going to say. Regardless, though, Team Atlas, they've decided not to bring her, and they will just be going for a roam clear for this bottom floor. They know it's there, but they also know that there is a danger of these roamers. Think about Tichy in that last round. You need to do your due diligence when you start pushing into a site.
You certainly do. I think we can see here David Bob coming up these back stairs, looking to perhaps to sneak through a gap that Team Atlas have left in their approach. They're certainly focusing on this freezer laundry push. They have the hard breach necessary in the form of the ace to try and get the laundry or freezer hatches, or one of the two, open, but they don't actually have a secondary hard breach in play or anything, so they're going to have to be quite selective about which hatch they go for and whether they save any of those Selmas perhaps for a freezer wall breach. So it's a bit of a tough one when you only bring the ace. Ooh, NJ Source with the opening frag, I believe for the second time in this game, onto Hazard, removing the dock, an interesting choice, and no opportunity to get those stim pistols any sort of value. Already plenty of ground gained here by Team Atlas.
Yeah, that's why I feel like Thunderbird is going to replace Doc almost entirely in competitive games, because it just benefits everyone so much more in the team, and it's essentially Doc Stim ADS. I mean, they last as long as you want them, but Nina and Heizo, they're not going to fall into that same category. You're going to be taken away, and MILF, there's no attempt at refrags here. Tichy will be able to find it, but it feels a little bit too late. Rury's able to find David Bob, and we'll be able to find the second kill as well. What we're seeing from Atlas is very tight gameplay. Every time one kill comes out from MILF, Team Atlas have two more players to deal with it. They're finding opening picks that are allowing them to just take control. MILF don't want to play aggressive, and it shows. And the worst part is, it's showing to Team Atlas, who are picking up on it really nicely.
It's such incisive play from Team Atlas. I do want to give them credit for the way that they're approaching their attacks, because a lot of the time they're getting these opening couple of picks just because they've set up in the right place and they're holding the right angles and they're providing quite a suffocating presence to the anchors of MILF. And the only issue there is that I think MILF are making it perhaps slightly too easy for Atlas to do that. They're not offering any sort of resistance, and then when it comes to that point in the mid-round, or just past the mid-round, 1 minute 20, 1 minute 10, MILF are kind of in this position where they're sitting still and they're like, well, a collapse is coming. We've got to do something now. And that's when they peak it. No, they need to be peaking perhaps slightly sooner and perhaps in pairs and just trying to get those refrags, put a dent in the plan of Team Atlas. So far, we haven't seen Atlas have to kind of try and execute with 4 men, with 3 men. They always get the opportunity to perform their full strategy. And I did say at the very start of this cast that maybe they don't have the full strats in place, but it still just makes things easier when you've got more bodies on the board. So give them a challenge. Try and find an early pick, MILF, and roll with that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was a joke that I was going to make that I really shouldn't, so I'm not going to.
There'll be plenty of opportunities, don't you worry.
I'm thinking that this is a great opportunity for MILF to pick up something younger. I mean, something earlier, sorry. There we go. You know, I decided to have it. Heizo and Hazard on the roam, though, they have a lot of potential. I mean, this is exactly what you said they might need. They have a lot... Team Atlas, they've had a lot of time to go for these executes, a lot of players on the board, but what we saw from Team Atlas is they went for that roam clear last time. They were aware that this could be an issue. Are they going to have that same kind of game sense behind them, or will they be a little bit complacent? Well, right now, seems like it's going to be the latter. Source will be on that Kids Repel. Kind of getting suspicious now. I think there is going to be a roam clear. Question is, though, what are you going to do to force Hazard out? They can just wait. Here's the Repel, and able to find that opening kill. Heizo gets one of their own, and Jerry, that might be exactly what MILF need.
I was just about to criticise the two roamers of MILF for playing disconnected, but they won their ones, and surprisingly as well, NJ Source just gifting that kill on Repel. We didn't see the nature of the one between Nate and Heizo, but Heizo did take a couple of shots, as we can see, so perhaps slightly less of a one-sided fight down there. But here we are, now we're in a situation where Team Atlas have to respond, and they still don't have Heizo pinned down. He's lurking around in this small tower area, going to be trying to make an aggressive play through shower hallways, but he's just playing for fun right here. That cam is giving him so much knowledge. He can hold a fairly passive angle, just wait for the swing, but decides that time is maybe not on his side. Lenina going down as FO12 is starting to mount an attack, and this is the cue for Heizo to push up. He's waiting by this freezer, or watching the monitor door. He knows that someone's in there, but Raj is that player, and he will drop a full freezer push coming through, but they must know that their rear is at risk. Tichy finds Raj, and now this is going to be really difficult for the two players to avoid this sandwich. Here comes the swing. It's a freebie for Heizo, and Hazza gets the final one, adding FO12 to his Pokédex. A solid round, finally, from MILF.
Were you impressed by MILF?
I was.
That's good to know. One thing that impressed me was we saw Hazza and Heizo being able to survive all the way from those first couple of picks, all the way down below. I think Heizo played it very, very nicely. Heizo waited, went down those freezer stairs. As soon as they started losing players on site, you saw that Heizo really stepped up and said, right, we're moving. I'm pushing this. They are in a choke point and they're trying to break out, which means they're probably not looking behind them. I'm going to take control of that. You catch the diffuser immediately, and you didn't even have time to try and swing onto Brewery. The Hazard's impact nade was able to come through and get that kill. I feel like MILF, they played it much nicer. They've identified that roaming. They need it, because otherwise they'd have an issue with just stalling, just giving away too much. But then they're reading. That was what really impressed me. Right there, you're looking at these two players saying, right, there is a problem and we're going to sort it. Returning to the top floor though, Jerry, is this exactly the direction you want to see MILF take?
Well, it's something that I think that they should continue to work on. I don't think it's worth, at this point, especially in the game and in the season, going, okay, we've lost twice up here, let's just go to a tertiary site. What they're doing instead is they're mixing things up. They've dropped the mute and the smoke, or they sort of cycled between those two in the first round, and they're now going with the frost instead. She still brings that shield, she can still set up and help you set up with that sidearm shotgun, but she also has these mats that can be a deadly surprise and perhaps arguably a slightly more powerful primary in the form of that 9mm C1. So a very potent operator at the best of times, and odd to be swapping her out for a smoke if you think about the kind of raw function of a smoke and wasting time, but she does a lot of the other jobs quite well of a smoke. So an understandable swap, perhaps a comfort one.
I'll tell you what's running through my head when I see this. I look at the Maestro and I say, right, that's your delaying operator. You have that older, and the rest of your team are going to play it aggressively. Maizo's going to say, yeah, you're exactly right there, finding that opening kill onto Sazachi's, and because of this, I have decided that I will send him a message later and ask him exactly how to pronounce his name, but more importantly, you're looking at Team Atlas yet again. Down one player, looking to try and get something, and MILF are just a different team on this defensive side. They just want to get aggressive. They say you have been too comfortable. Let's change that, Jerry.
Their enthusiasm for frogs is certainly showing as they bounce their way through this map. Nate just standing on this doorway. He actually got a couple of players pinned in here, whether he knows it or not. Lenina and Tichy both playing against, and a breach onto that closet wall could be absolutely devastating for this MILF hold right now, as Nate's got himself into that tasty position. A lot of responsibility now rides on the remaining 2 or 3 players on the side of MILF to try and get them out of that sticky situation, because Atlas just need to wait, and they might be rewarded for their patience.
Yeah, I feel like Nate can really capitalize upon it, and Source ready for that refrag. Nothing knows. There's no way that he does not know in that position, but Nino with the Alder able to find FO12, and that pressure's alleviated a bit. Tichy's able to find Nate, and now we're looking at Team Atlas being neutered and alone. Source and Trophy has a diffuser, and Ruri is somewhere to be found. Right now, not there for the refrag. Will be... Oh no! Tagged up a little bit, but Heizo going to be able to find the kill, and Source on 1 HP is going to get pushed and finished out. MILF, well, they've gone on the prowl. They love their frogs.
They certainly do, and that is the bounce back we were expecting from Man I Love Frogs after their round on the basement. A flawless one at that. So good. To be fair, I was not expecting Tichy and Lenina to fight their way out of that one. They seemed quite pinned down. It looked like FO12 had their number, getting on that rappel to try and get the cross angle. But there was something missing, and it was that hard breach. They just didn't apply any pressure to the closet. They maybe knew that it would be difficult with the impact tricking coming through from the Maestro, but there was no attempt was made, and that was the issue. I feel as though just applying a little bit of pressure in that direction would have really helped, but that's it. That's the round. So 3-2 now to Team Atlas. They've already managed to grab their 3 attacking rounds, so let's not discredit them too much. That's already a great start, and really the onus is on MILF to try and win here, and because they've left it so late, they're now forced onto a tertiary site to do so.
Yeah, and I'd like to take this opportunity to say, when you look at MILF, and if you're in Twitch chat, say milk. Automod will not pick up milk. I want to notice. There's been a bit of an epidemic there, Jerry. Of
that is quite funny.
Automod's been on overtime with
what type in the full team name.
Either Man I Love Frogs or Milk. But the interesting part is, Man I Love Frogs. They're really enjoying this small tower. They have a setup for it, and they've got a shield on that dining wall. This is going to be a very aggressive position. It's going to rely on Mini Tower being held up, but the big weak point that I'm looking at, Jerry, and I'm interested to see how Atlas deal with this, is going to be over towards that Kids side. If Kids gets taken, suddenly they can take control of Meeting. Yes, one of those walls is soft, and you can open it up and have those lines of sight. But then it just needs players to come around to 90. Essentially, you become the attackers, and nobody really likes attacking straight from Mini Tower. It's awkward. Haz is going to try and make that a little bit easier, though. Will do a little bit of damage, but doesn't find the first kill onto Source Joe. But now the name of the game has been given away, and Atlas very much aware.
Actually playing close inside this closet. They've got each other's backs here. David Bob also note his presence on that Echo drone. He's feeding them intel, but now they're stacking up on the windows, 2 apiece, 2 versus 4 effectively out here. The utility will be tossed in, various things caught, but Nate's the first to go down as Hazard plays this shield very wisely. Repel's not working out for anyone trying to pressure the Frost, and now they're just trying to get these positions working in their favor, but they can't quite do it. David Bob finds NJ's source, and where's that come from? Was that from below? I believe it was. That angle, beautifully done by the Echo to step on in and help out. Heizo finds Raj, and now this small tower presence, believe it or not, is the stronghold. It's working for MILF.
Yeah, it really is, and I'd like to quote something you said. And I believe that's the fact that you said a lot of teams are coming into this probably not strategized ready and probably don't have these game plans, but it seems like MILF, they've kind of read into it and made the adjustments. And I feel, right, Atlas now are making the right choice, Jerry. That is the rotate. They've noticed there's so much utility over towards Small Tower. Where are the rest of these players? Where's the rest of the utility? Go into Meeting. You can open it up. Take control of Kids. You can use that vertical pressure. Now, obviously, Heizo is up on that roam. He is going to be there, and the rest of MILF will rotate around, but it definitely looks like it's going to be a MILF round, especially with Heizo on the swing, somehow winning that gunfight, but doing it with very little HP loss. Sasachi will take away that Yokai, tags up 1, is able to find Tichi, but has the double peek, the roam clear. It just didn't come out. I mean, I look at Atlas and I say, that was maybe a bit of a misread. Think about Elbow on that bottom floor, Jerry. If you see all the utility of the defense committed to that bunker hold and North Tower hold, you go for Freezer Laundry. That's the same situation in my eyes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that they just played right into MILF's hands in that one. That's not what you want to do. You want to make sure... I'm not even going to try it. It's so tempting. And yet I have to stop. I have to save it. Okay, that's if I can just sort of resist the temptation, then I will better myself as a human. I think
it's going to be a long season then.
Yeah,
Jerry.
It's going to be a very long season.
It's going to be a long season. Well, going on to the defense then, let's take a look at Atlas. Their early aggression and their opening picks have been really good, and every time they got the opening pick, they won a round. But as soon as they didn't, that's when the problems and the cracks really started to show, wasn't it?
Everything is bad. My brain is wrong.
Fair enough. I'm not really sure what I could take from that, though.
My mind is in the gutter, McCready. That's all you need to know.
It's okay. Well, Atlas, they want to take the fight to MILF. I believe. They've got very aggressive positioning. These flank drones are being taken away over towards Big Tower, over towards Armory. The information is there. David Bob, fun anecdote actually, he was crouching because he has been quote-unquote insta-spawn peaked in one of our games. And we ended up winning it 7-1, 7-0. So it didn't really matter in the full swing of things. But he died to it once and absolutely refuses to die to it again. But that's what I really like. Very nice use of that Flores drone. You were nearly able to get that Flores Rotera onto the roof. But then nothing came along. We'll be backing off towards that L position, that Zulu. But the name of the game hasn't been given away. MILF don't know this, Jerry.
That is a great idea. And now David Bob has droned through ahead for himself. He can get that second Flores drone into position to remove any denial on that wall. And there is, of course, a mute jammer on that wall. So, fun fact about mute jammers, their radius is vertical and cylindrical. So they don't extend below, meaning that you can destroy mute jammers in those sorts of positions from below with a Flores drone, and it won't have any issue. So really, really nice use of that utility once we do hear it coming through. I believe that was it. No, here we go.
Here it is.
This is the camera we were waiting for.
Would you like another fun fact, Jerry?
Go on.
He's kind of whiffed it there. The same applies, or maybe he's got it off. The same applies for Habana pellets or summer charges. They both work upwards. And it's something I've done for vertical holes as well. Unfortunately, we're not going to see any more of it. Nate being able to find David Bob 32, the unforgettable Clash main of David Bob 32. Some may even say, Jerry, he rivals eBack, but that's not for me to say. MILF right now, they've lost that opening player, and Team Atlas have a lot of advantages. Most importantly, control a trophy, but Source is just going to give it away completely. That wall will be opened up, Jerry.
Great swing by Nina, and now she's getting that wall open, doing a job. She's still got a Claymore in pocket. I was expecting to see... Oh, you know what? I'm still in an era where I expect smokes to be coming through on Ace. Of course, Ace got his smokes removed a while ago. Now replaced by that
Shocking
Claymore.
behavior.
Yeah, so... I'm just shocking, aren't I? I'm nowhere near up to date. Anyway, Heizo on the big window, thank you, is, again, it looks like a similar style of attack. Basically place these pieces, spread them far and wide, and hold these angles. But at the moment, Team Atlas are doing the right thing. They're not peeking. They're kind of waiting, letting the timer do half the job for them. This Lion E1D does come out, but locking the defenders in place when you don't really have any of them pinned down and ready to execute doesn't do anything. Tichy looking to find something. Finally, Nanina gets one, and Heizo another from that big window, and the execution starts to come through. FO12 pushing on in. Sashis will find one with that MK14, but can't respond to Tichy, as Tichy will pick up both those final frags on the Yana. Fantastic push from him through that rotate, and there was really nothing that those RC players could do.
Not until I think, you know, the last minute or so we looked at MILF being... They lost David Bob 32, but he's done his job. He got the utility off the wall. And then MILFs were able to go into the bedroom. Because Source Joe gave away that position. He took the gunfight. No. Team Atlas, they needed to do exactly what you said, which was waste the time, hold the crossfires. That wasn't the case. We saw one player peek. We saw no chance of refrags. That's where MILF really stepped up. They had that refrag potential, or at least... They put Atlas into gunfights. They just weren't going to win. Suddenly, Tichy's pushing through Attic. He's able to go through the rotate. He finds FO12 sprinting. Easy kill. Then you find the player with the DMR at close range. You're not going to win it. That was very nicely played from MILF to bring it back. Atlas, I want to see just a little bit more smart gameplay from you. I want to see less aggression peaking. If you have that opening pick, yeah, you can. Maybe take one or two more riskier gunfights, but not too many. Not to that degree, because you gave away too much for just one kill in trade.
I'm thinking about something right now, and I didn't get to see what primary Ella was bringing. It had better be the FO12, otherwise I'm going to riot.
It better had be. I remember having something like this before, actually. I remember, obviously, there's a certain clash... I respect it. There's obviously a certain Clash main we know that has to pick Clash because it's in his name and his brand. I feel like I've had it before where you have like TCSG or Boss G ACOG operators and they never bring it, and it's really sad.
Yeah, come on, commit to the branding, guys. Like FO12 is right here. That is the real deal. And maybe 1 and 5, but he's still doing it. Like, maybe this is the moment where he suddenly comes into his own. We get the weapon. It was just waiting to come onto the defense, waiting to pick Ella, and then you're gonna get it. David Bob manages to launch that Retero into, I believe, the right location this time round. As looks like, no, it didn't actually attach to the ceiling and detonated on the floor instead, unfortunately for him. And second one is shot out by Nate, doing great job denying this utility. But Hazard with a fantastic wall bang there. Great shot and a good morning dropped in chat. That is unconventional.
It is, but it really catches your eye now. For FO12, I really want to see this player just step up completely. I don't actually know this player at all. This is the first time I've seen them, at least under this name, be this utility. Starting to get bit. The Surya gates are gone. Suddenly, MILF, they realize that they have free, unfettered access with these ADSs, but now they're been again. That's gonna get changed by that Retero coming in from David Bob, activates it at the right time, and the FO12 isn't able to get it. In fact, not even able to find a kill. Did she able to find it? Opens things up. Sachis will take damage towards that kid's bedroom, and MILF, they want to take control of the kids, but right now, that's not gonna happen. David Bob goes to the vertical kill, but isn't gonna be able to find it, but you're applying a lot of pressure. That's fine. You're trying to get the utility, and there it is. MILF, a lot of time to work with, a lot of opportunities, and that attic, I thought it was opening up, but it's not, it seems. Breach is open, Jerry. What do you think?
I think that's good use of utility there by MILF, making sure they finally locate those mute jammers and getting it open. Now we have 3 versus 5. Team Atlas have really pinned down. The swing back from MILF after being 3-0 down has been immense, and they look to be continuing on that trend. They just need to lock out this round. The jump comes in, the Grudgemore is triggered, and Heizo will swing off that intel and get the kill. But no, in fact, sorry, that is Heizo getting the frag. Incredible that he fights through that, and Tichy again with the final 2 kills. I was completely caught off because I thought that was about as free a kill onto the big window attacker as you're ever going to see.
Kind of game. MILF on the attack, they're definitely a lot more comfortable. And I feel like that's the way that this game has kind of gone with the recent changes, because it looks like we're going to have a minute or two to have a nice little gentle discussion, Jerry. Yeah. I'm looking towards maybe this new meta and saying, well, okay, it's more attacker-sided than defender, and you look towards MILF. That's going to benefit them. They're going to be able to move forward and take control of this in a more default game, because, well, the Jaeger ADSs aren't as powerful as they used to be this time last year. You look towards these Aruni gates, while yes, they still help, they can't do all the heavy lifting. That doesn't change the meta of a game in the same way that maybe Lion did. I'm looking towards MILF and I'm saying they're getting the basics down and they're playing a much tighter game. That's where they're going right. Atlas, I feel their positioning and the gunfights they're choosing just aren't really beneficial to them. There's a lot more risk than reward.
Yeah, and the main thing we criticised MILF for in their first half sort of false start, if you will, on the defensive half was a bit of passiveness on the defense. As soon as they started holding more aggressive positions, think about that small tower hold for their final round, think about the way they roamed so heavily on their basement victory, they started collecting rounds. And I think, honestly, it's just a bit of a confidence thing. So they've really turned it around mentally, and that's why they've gotten 5 rounds in a row. Now they're on their attacking half and they're carrying that momentum forward. They're executing quite smartly. They are making sure that they do everything sort of bit by bit. But it looks as though Team Atlas are falling into the same trap that MILF did very early on. They're playing a little too passive. We see, for instance, at the very start of the round, sure, you expect Nate to be downstairs shooting drones. Was very unlucky to get caught out early round in that instance with the wall bang as he was fleeing, but that was it in terms of aggression. Everyone else was trying to sort of rely a bit too heavily on the setup when time wasn't in their favor. And honestly, I think in that situation, at this kind of level, you probably want to be making a play rather than letting the play come to you.
I feel the thing is, I feel like,
feel free to disagree.
The way that I kind of do. The way that Atlas are playing these defensive rounds does come under that. It does follow that kind of mentality, but in the same issue we saw with MILF, it's too late. Have an earlier roam, have one that really does put as much pressure as possible on the attackers, because we're looking at MILF, you're looking at David Bob's use of the Flores, Roteros. They've been going really, really well, actually. He's been able to use them to move those Roteros and get the utility that we saw, but also get that information, because as soon as the Rotera gets shot out, look, there's Jaeger, he's roaming around. I want to see a little bit more aggressive positioning, maybe an armory hold with a Wamai. Might be a little spicy, I know, but it's something I'd like to see. I want to see adaptations and things, trying new things before you approach the final push of the attackers.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that we saw adaptation from Atlas on their final defense as well. Oh, sorry, from MILF on their final defense of the dorms as well, where they brought that frost and they did play slightly more aggressively on the top floor. And that is honestly what's going to make a big difference in most of these games is how quickly you can adapt, because like we said at the start, it's a very formative process for a lot of these teams. They do have to kind of learn it as they go, and you can't be over reliant on the strategy. I don't think you can't be over reliant on one set way of doing things right now. So whatever works for you on the day at the time, I think it is the way to do it. But I mean, right now MILF are 5 rounds up, and I think that this break will benefit Atlas more than anything. Obviously, they're the ones that just suffered the loss, and they're the ones that need to have a quick reset to get some tech issues sorted anyway. That may have been hindering them as well. Especially, we saw it was FO12 that had to go, and the record wasn't especially great. But yeah, I think that this is their opportunity to try and catch up, to try and... I'd very much like to see them move to a different site. I feel as though Dorms is... They're in their own heads a little bit here. And just try a basement, maybe. I wouldn't advise going to an off-site here, because you're a couple of rounds away from match point, and that would just be too big a risk. But yeah, definitely try and get a round or two under your belt before sort of coming back to Dorms. I think it's going to be a difficult turnaround for Team Atlas at 5-3. It feels strange to say that, because this game has whizzed on by really quickly. But yeah, they are going to go to that basement site. They're opting to bring a Mute and Mozzie, that classic combo. Lots of intel denial. Certainly one way of stopping the Yana, at least, is the Mute, but the Mozzie will not catch her hologram. It will only catch those drones. The Blitz being 6-picked, though. A different style of roam clearing, if you ask me, to the Jackal it was 6-picked off. A much quicker, much more high-risk strategy, I think.
I'm looking at this bottom floor, and I'm going to jump back to that point that you made about you want to see these teams just kind of taking a different approach, obviously. I want to see Team Atlas on this bottom floor have that roam game that we saw MILF using. I want to see Team Atlas being able to kind of just distract MILF at this point, because genuinely that has been one of the key issues, is Team Atlas have been fighting at the first gunfight. And that's when MILF want to come around and they want to do something. Even in the rounds when Atlas get that first pick, they started to give it away a little bit. They need to rein it in and maybe have their brains about them. Whereas MILF, I'd be wanting to take control of this. I'd want to say, okay, they overly commit. So we want to have like those 2 players going towards that blue bunker. Maybe have the Blitz and the Ace, because immediately that's going to draw a lot of attention from the defenders. And then you have the rest of the players. They all head around. Apparently, though, it seems like we're not going to be seeing that, Jerry. We are going to be seeing some Rainbow Six Siege gameplay straight out of David Bob's ranked games. Now, this Surya Gate will get burned, and Hazza will lead the charge. The Elbow doesn't have a player, but Tichy's able to find that. Sazachi's instead. There will be a little bit of damage being taken, but Tichy and David Bob is going to find a frag. David Bob, you've got too many kills, Tichy. He wants one of them, and he's going to make sure he gets it. Make sure he gets Ruri as well. Now, Natty and Source have to get the crossfire. Natty finds David, Source, and Jaeger both together, but now it's all going to be down to that. Mozzie will be taken away, and MILF rush their way over to match point, Jerry. That was an interesting strategy, but it worked.
Well, we got a lovely top-down view of it. It was almost like that construction entryway was a tap, and then as soon as someone turned that tap, whoosh, all of that hot water came flooding on in. It just found its way into every single crevice. That Blitz was terrifying. You could see immediately on the call of the Jaeger being inside of Rotate, he just does a 180 and rushes his location. That's got to be absolutely nightmarish for any defender, and that happened a couple of times. Even with the team kill coming through from David Bob, you can kind of excuse it. Just the chaos of a quick rush like that is you're always going to have casualties, but they came out on top. 2 players left at the very end, and that's all that matters. So it was a bit like watching the trailer for Rainbow Six Siege, or like you know the iconic artwork of one team versus another, and it's all mixed up because they hadn't decided who would be on attack and defense. But it's that kind of black on the left, white on the right. It was like that.
I know that before they got rid of it, didn't they?
Yeah.
You see, you said about a tab, Jerry. I look at this and it reminds me of when you're playing Age of Empires 2. The year is 2007, and you're having a really good time. You know, you sat on your parents' computer as a kid like myself, and what else are you gonna do? You're just gonna have fun with it. But then you accidentally click on all of your army and send them in and somehow still win it, which did become my default strategy. It worked for MILF, like you said. They were able to push in, they were able to find those opening 2 kills. Tichy having an incredible game, might I say. I feel like it's not been something we've highlighted too much because it's just Tichy's playing well. Who was surprised by that?
No, and it's been a very steady flow of kills for Tichy as well. 13 on 5 right now, but we did remark on an earlier round where it ended the same way twice in a row, attacking dorms. 2 kills at the very death, coming down to Tichy just storming in as the Yana, and he's clearly very, very comfortable with the Yana in his hands, and it's making a difference because he's just collecting frag after frag after frag, and it doesn't necessarily matter that the rest of the team are sort of lagging behind a little bit.
Yeah.
Right now, it's the Tichy show, and his team are enabling him. That's the important thing. You see the drones ahead of you, you see the blitz play, and it just means that he can have fun and do his thing and shoot heads.
Do you hear that, Jerry?
That
was the sound of a mute jammer.
And
now, you've got the mute jammer, you've got these mozzies. This is very much saying, okay, they've been bringing Flores a lot. They've been using a lot of droning information. How do we deal with this? You had the mozzie last round, and you did have that mute, if I'm not mistaken, but it didn't really have the same impact. This mozzie being brought in, though, I feel like this P10 Roni, if it's used properly, will add a lot more power. Now, Team Atlas, this is definitely their round to win. MILF know that they can't go for another rush. They know they can't get aggressive again because FO12 will just win a gunfight with Nate. Takes out David Bob 32. A little bit too early to get aggressive, and FO12 will be able to add on to this. Maybe this is what MILF need. The question is, do they start giving away these kills? Tichy and Hazard still on the board as FO12 finds a third. And MILF might not be closing down this game just yet.
FO12 letting us know what they're about here with 3 kills on the round, completely shutting down MILF now. They have 2 bodies to try and come up against these 5 on Atlas, and Nate, he's getting hungry, he's thirsty for blood.
No.
He will just punish Tichy's slow retreat, and he now knows the exact location of Hazard stuck inside a meeting, and he's calling on the reinforcements, but none are coming. He's going to try and take this one. Hazard chucking out a drone just for some cover, but it's now scarpering. Absolutely no attempt to fight back there from the Habana, and Nate will finish what FO12 started. A flawless round coming through for Team Atlas, and boy, did they need it.
Yeah, you need to stall out MILFs. I mean, MILF definitely looked read into it and said, right, this is where we benefit most from a rush. Because now we're on match point. Now we can do whatever we want. We have that breathing room, but don't use it that liberally. Team Atlas, they found those first couple of kills. They added onto it. They got back into the groove. That was easily just the same kind of Atlas, the same kind of feel that I got about their play style from the first couple of rounds. I want to see them being able to bring that back. I want to see them being able to take the fight to MILF and just say, we're going to win this. We're going to start off our entire season with another full OT game, because that's the best option you really have on the board now. MILF at least have secured 1 point, because at the very least, if they're going to lose, it's going to be in overtime, and an overtime loss is 1 point. Because we're going off the same point system of last season, Jerry. Yeah, so it's not too different, you know. An overtime loss is 1 point, an overtime win is 2 points, and a regulation win is 3 points. But if MILF were to win this one round, obviously they'd get 3 points, but Team Atlas would get a 0. And there is a very important discussion going on in chat, Jerry, and I do want to ask, what's your go-to bag of crisps?
My go-to bag of crisps? So you cut out a little bit there. So yeah, my go-to is McCoy's. I love some ridged crisps. I feel as though you just get more potato content. It's very tasty. Quavers, I have to agree, are just rank. I can't deal with quavers or skips, especially skips. They make my tongue all tingly, and I don't like it.
I love skips. I love that feeling.
Nah, I hate it. I can't deal with prawn crackers for the same reason. They taste like fizzy cardboard.
prawn crackers get really greasy as well. I feel like that's the biggest problem with them. But shockingly enough, we're not watching McCready and Jerry's food podcast. You're watching the Badass University All Star. Well, not yet. Not until Peak, our wonderful owner, actually decides that we should have a cooking podcast. You know what?
I don't know. I think the figures would be good.
I think it'd be better than the league. We could bring in guests. We can get. Oh my God, Ruri.
Strong words.
Ruri,
Was that a pocket
the cojones?
mute
Yeah, that's a pocket mute jammer. Titchy's able to find a kill onto Nate, but that mute jammer just means that utility you use to get the breach open isn't going to happen. Hazard's going to have to try and get up against that wall. You're going to have to waste even more utility, because look at that. Beautiful. David Bob Carter says, screw it, and says, let's get a kill. I want to close this out. McCready, you were the fragger on our team when we played together, but now, my turn. Another kill has come out, though. Heizo is taken away, and the sledge will be put into the Forever Box for now. But with a minute 20 left, MILF in a good position.
FO12 has looked far more deadly with the Roni in hands than with Ella's beloved rapid-fire shotty.
Name change, maybe?
So, maybe. But he is pinned down to take out that Yana drone, so FO12's position is known. David Bob does manage to remove that mute jammer on the wall, which crucially means that the Mozzie has to be forced out of position. He's trying to make some sort of play here through the wolf doorway, but knows that the angle will be being held. Oh, the C4 shot out and the spray not quite landing. FO12 still hunting for something. He's droned out and pinched, and that is a death sentence. Now Sashi's holding this long angle with the MK14. Can't find anyone as he's taken down. It's all up to the Alder, who has collected one in the name of David Bob. FO12 is down, effectively a living drone at this point, completely out of range of any sort of resability, but there is still an evil eye in place feeding the intel to the Maestro. However, David Bob is there, pushes on through. That is the GG's in chat. It's in fact Titchy to grab that final frag against the Maestro to round off a fantastic game for himself and an excellent match for MILF, starting this season off with a nice little jump to the top of the table.
Exactly, that's the perfect way that you want to start it off. And Titchy and Haz are definitely propelling themselves into the radar of the casters at the moment, because we look at these two players, incredible start, Molt consistently providing these kills. I want to point out David Bob as well. He's had some really good impact kills. Like, for example, you look towards the first round with Minitel, the only one in kitchen dining. When Mills went to the kitchen, they committed to that small tower. David Bob was able to find a kill, watch the bottom of small tower while literally everyone else was focusing up above that utility. Then you look at that last round and David Bob's able to find the opening pick. He's able to just say, right, okay, well, you pocket jammed our breach. Let's rotate around. Let's get a kill. Let's push through. He tried to get FO12 as well. Then he got shot. He fell by his own hubris. But at the end of the day, Jerry, it's the same situation we saw for Atlas. One of their strengths was that they were going into a lot of these late round gunfights with a significant player advantage.
Yeah, they certainly were. And I think it's fair to highlight David Bob as well, because certainly Titchy had a fantastic game in the frag department, but one of my kills of the whole game came on that dining room defense. Their final defensive round. He was, I believe, the Echo playing inside of site and managed to get the vertical kill to assist his team players inside of tower. That is huge. You've got to be thinking about how you can help out your roamers or your extended teammates in a sense. As an anchor, and he was doing just that, giving them the calls from the Echo drone and hopping off with the heads-up play. So yeah, beautifully done by him, and very consistent performance. Atlas, well, it looked like they had the whole world in their hands after 3 rounds and no response, but yeah, MILF turned that round so well.
Yeah, I like that. I had the world in their hands. Probably better than MILF took the kitchen, but... We'll move on to that and say Atlas. I feel there was a lot of promise. Mechanical ability definitely gave a lot to be impressed by. Actually, I was quite happy seeing those opening gunfights and seeing them get aggressive, take it. I feel like hold on to that energy, especially in the early stages of the season before a lot of these teams have really worked out their play style. That's what you want to take control of. You want to be able to find those opening kills. Keep that consistency with it. Remember, don't get in your own head, because I feel like that was kind of the case. As soon as MILF started getting a bit more aggressive, Atlas was thinking, what do we do? How do we deal with this? And at that point, they just started hemorrhaging rounds. There was a couple of opportunities that they had again, and I feel like their bunker defense on the bottom floor definitely one of the positives to take away. But at least, there's a lot of negatives to take away in VOD review, in scrims, in improvements. So it's not all bad for the first Playday. We still got a good game.
Yeah, and you learn a lot from a victory, but you can learn even more from a loss. So
Yes.
do expect Team Atlas to come back with a vengeance in their next match. But for the time being, I believe we're going to throw to a very short break, but do stick around because we have the Mighty Ludens versus the Combat Wombats coming up next.
What a name. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Badass University All-Stars. We just watched Atlas with a lot of weight above their shoulders, but they just weren't able to keep it up. I mean, Herculean effort, actually, from MILF to take it away from them was definitely successful. And Jerry, I'm reaching here for it, okay?
Yeah.
I want to get these jokes, but I want to go Atlas way rather than MILF, because let's be honest, we're going to have a lot of MILF jokes this season.
Yeah, and there's a nice kind of wide pool of things that you can reference with Atlas. You know, you've got the whole of Greek mythology at your doorstep, which is brilliant. And yeah, Hercules versus Atlas is a fight I would pay to see. But
Hold on,
not so much MILF.
The next badass clash, Hercules and Atlas. Yeah, let's have that.
Yeah. You could have an entire kind of like themed league. In fact, there was Atlas at one point. There was an Atlas Championship Series. That's where we met, weirdly, wasn't it? No, you didn't do that. I can't remember. Either way, lots of us like casters that are kind of in this tier of casting, as it were, did that, and it was a lot of fun. That's why I'm at Phrase.
You got to remember, Jerry.
But yeah, I think it would have been nice to see you there. But either way, you're here now, and that's really fun. So I'm blathering right now. We've got a game coming up, and
we do have a game. It's a scary one.
It's a scary one. Ludens versus the Combat Wombats. Ludens. Let's start with them. Benji, KK, Proctor, Gady, and Yobu. These guys have actually stuck together quite a bit, and we did mention last season that they've even ventured outside of Bull to take some Tier 4 competitions on, and they've been pretty good, so I'm excited to see them in action yet again. And you know probably a fair bit more about these players than I do, McCready, if I were to bet at all, because you're just a wealth of knowledge, as has already been mentioned.
Well, Lockdown Ludens, like you said, yeah, they did go towards the Yukon 2 qualifiers, and they used that for scrim practice, especially when we started getting towards the actual playoffs, or towards the actual playoffs of Badass Season 2. So they definitely took a lot on board, and it's shown. I remember they didn't place too badly. I mean, they qualified for the grand. They qualified for definitely the playoffs. I'm going to get the Liquipedia page up. I'm going to get this right. Most importantly, this is a team that have time and time again just come back and stepped up in a massive way. I mean, they won the first round of Season 1, as I'm sure you remember. Very much an aggressive team was when they found their best, but they started incorporating strats. Onto the side of the Combat Wombats, though. Let's take a look at these players. Very, very interesting. Call Me Dicta and Vulcanoid making a reappearance. These two players have been in for each season as well. Joining them is JMXC, Kensho, and I think you'll like this one, Jay. Bonk.
Bonk. I do like
it's
that.
It's spelled B-J-O-N-K. So it's not bonk, it's Bjonk. I think.
Bjonk.
I'm just going to say bonk or something like that every single time.
Bjonk. Go to horny jail, essentially. But Dicta also played on the Clash the other day, which was one of the most incredible games I've ever seen. We are going to have a quick look at the map bans, as they are already through and we are almost ready to start. So, very quick look to see where we're going to be going to. I'm excited because it may not be Oregon, but again, that is quite high up on my estimations. Clubhouse being banned out by Combat Wombats. Interesting first ban coming through from them, and Chalet out by the Ludens. Like I said, I'd be surprised if we saw an Oregon, but with Clubhouse already gone, that's unusual. Cafe as well, another early ban. Combat Wombats seem intent on banning the more sort of standard maps, it would seem. Consulate coming out from Ludens, and then Oregon and Coastline, the final bans. Coastline being finally the sort of off-kilter map that Combat Wombats decide they won't want to go to, and Villa is our destination. So, sunny Tuscany, McCready.
I'm okay with that. I look at Villa and I say it's a map that definitely you look at being balanced in the way of it's naturally defender-sided, but a good attacking team could definitely get aggressive and actually take control. And if you want a nice little fun fact about that clash, not only did Dicta play in it, Benji and I believe Jobu also did. So we got 3 players from the clash in here right now. Yeah.
These guys have already played against each other very recently, with such greats as Chate and Fast Anne alongside them as well. If you didn't get to see that game, and Whip It, if you didn't get to see that game, I would certainly go and watch it. The cast was just endlessly entertaining from Whip It, Zaronic, and Lonnie Lightning. Just incredible from them. The final map of Coastline was essentially a 20-minute or like half an hour podcast, which just completely derailed, and it was absolutely hilarious. I would go back and watch that if you can while the VOD's still up. I'm sure it will be posted about, and there are tons of clips posted to social media about various ridiculous things that were said. So yeah, I can't wait to see Lonnie Lightning and Whip It again on the same desk. I think they were a match made in heaven.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like he definitely took the right call there. Yeah. But right now, is Villa the right decision? Well, there's only one way to find out. We're looking at the Quombat.
The Quombat!
And Ludens. Quombat. Instead of Ludens and Quombat, it's Ludens. They dropped the lockdown, and I mean, I don't know how to feel about it, I don't really get a choice.
It's because of the restrictions easing across Britain right now.
Really?
I'd imagine it is. Like, maybe they were called Lockdown Ludens because they were formed during the lockdown, and now that we're coming out of it, it makes sense to drop it, right? And now they're just the Ludens.
I mean, that thought process works for Chexland, Fuking Zoo, sorry. But then you look at Chexland and Triton, the other teams. Lockdown Triton?
Yeah, but that's true, yeah.
Jackal's going to be taken off the board. I feel like this is a really, really good ban for Ludens to actually start with, because for their defense, this just allows them to play a lot more freer. Now, obviously, you can have a Nomad, but to cover all these staircases to ensure there's no flank. It's not like Coastline where you walk through one room and you go to one staircase, two, and you're into another. Your air jabs go down. You don't have to worry about it. With Villa, it's a very spread out map. Taking Jackal off the board, that's a lot of freedom of movement for defenders. And the Valkyrie being taken away, I feel like, is probably because of this. That if you have no Jackal, that Valkyrie might want to play down below because, as I'm sure you've seen, that 90 hallway, Valkyrie camps and C4s, it is a horrible place to be as an attacker.
Yeah, any sort of intel employed in that position can enable so many C4 plays, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Echo, for instance, come out. I've seen a lot of the time when Valk is banned, he does show his face, and you get an early Echo drone out around 90. You can hide them in decent locations, obviously, since they've lost their cloaking ability. They're slightly less inconspicuous, but there's other methods of gathering intel, and we can see, for instance, the Maestro being brought by KK as they are starting off on this AVG side. Entirely possible that we also have bulletproof cameras on the lineup, perhaps in the hands of the Jaeger, but we will get to see. And in fact, maybe that will be important because it's the Maestro that's going to be picked off for the Legion. So an interesting change there. And yes, we are seeing, in fact, Giobu, interestingly, dropping a C4 in favour of a deployable camera. That's a bit of a strange kind of cycle. In my opinion, you put the Jaeger on that, you lose the barbed wire, that's not as important. But, well, one C4 to play with in the hands of Benji may be enough. Sometimes one is all you need. But yeah, this is I think a sensible lineup. It's not crazy. On the attacking side, though, we've got one interesting element, and that is the gridlock. I think that's probably worth a mention because she doesn't see as much play, and really, when you've got a Nomad, it's an odd option to go for.
Yeah, because those track stingers, you give away a lot more when it comes to shooting them, obviously. When you look at this, the roamers, they have to shoot out those track stingers. There's literally nothing else they can do. An air jab can be shot out, but it might not be as obvious as it actually going off, but with the track stingers, you at least get a lot of them. It might be a pick for the gun. The smokes might actually be a reason there as well, Jerry, because look at the positioning of Vulcan. She can get up towards, and I thought she got that kill, but no, Dicta, she's going to be able to find the opener onto Proctor. The Jaeger will have that barbed wire, but won't have their life anymore. Well, that gridlock, a lot of potential to actually shut this down. Think, get a track stinger on landing. You don't expose yourself, that stinger, it's going to extend. Suddenly these defenders, they're going to have to worry about more than just the attackers that are on their way. JMXC and Dicta starting to make this aggression, and a minute off the clock, the Romans will pull back, but when you think that only the one C4 is in the hands of Benji, that doesn't really surprise me. I want to see them play a careful game. I want to see them play a measured game. That's what we've seen win, is measured aggression, and right now that Yana Gemini is going to be taken away by Benji, who knows with this 90 camera up, with a little bit of information, 90, you just need to hold it.
Benji playing around this pillar on 90 with the Alibi Prisma, so we'll get a bit of an advantage if some of those bullets go his way. He's aware of the possibility of someone going to 90 hallway, and he will hear that scampering player rotating towards the position and decides to scamper back himself. We saw, as we expect now, probably a bit of a lull in the action. There was one little tech that I want to point out that we spotted from Benji as he fled away across that horrible high traffic area where, oh, nice C4 from beneath. I don't know whether that was a Hail Mary or not, but that's the impact he wanted. Either way, the tech I was going to mention, just running across that high traffic area and sort of looking up and looking down, essentially what that does makes your head a very difficult hitbox target, and it could make the difference between being shot and not being shot. So something to try out in your rank games to get used to doing. This weird mechanically, and it may look very weird on your own end, but the point is that it looks very, very weird on the attacker's end. So yeah, worth trying out.
See, Jerry, I know that you also run your own T4 league, and I also know the kind of average age of the players who actually play inside it. And that makes a lot of sense, actually, because to be honest, they're very, very young and very, very talented at the game, and I can just see one of them walking around. I'm gonna say probably one of Anarchic Disciples, probably. Doesn't really matter, though. That plan's actually starting to go down. Gorilla's able to hold. This plan is gonna put the pressure on. You don't get the kill, but you don't really need to right now. Benji and Gady will find kills each. Benji has 3, and, well, it closed down very quickly. I mean, I barely got to finish my point about age. More importantly, though, aside from whatever else Jerry gets up to in his own time, like getting a haircut, which does look magnificent, by the way, I do want to say.
Thank you. I'm glad someone noticed.
Yeah, it was actually Twitch chat. Big shout out to Benji. In this lobby, actually.
Ah, well, thank you.
Can we get a shout out to Benji? Science. A wonderful observer, by the way, making it look. Catching the C4, by the way. Incredible work, because that did feel like a Hail Mary, because you look at the drop down. C4 goes up. I was theorizing, actually, in the prep phase. And hear me out on this, Jerry. It doesn't sound very practical, but hear me out. Have KK, as the Legion, place the goo mine on that 90 highway. Just have the ping ready for maybe the 90 camera, or have it pre-placed. As soon as the goo mine goes, that's a C4 cut. Obviously, Benji didn't need it.
That was a strategy that was definitely around when Legion came out, and it took a while for a nerf to come through whereby you don't get the indicator of your goo mines that are out unless they are close and within line of sight of you. So you could team up with a teammate and make sure that as soon as a goo mine was triggered, that you just call across the map, hey, blow it with a pre-placed C4, and you get a free kill or 2 maybe if you're lucky. Now it's a lot harder to do that. Like I said, you have to be within line of sight, so it may be a bit more risky to tell, but if you can hear it go off, then that's just as good a cue, and anyone within earshot on the defensive side can give that call. So it may have been part of what got Benji that crucial kill at the start. We may not know. So many of these lovely little details in Siege do unfortunately go missed in the chaos of things, and unless you get to delve deep into the replays, which is a brilliant feature, I might add, then you may never know. But right now, let's bring ourselves back to the present, because right here we've got the Combat Wombats approaching from the study side, and looks to be a full top floor clear on this trophy attack.
That it does. You got Benji playing some pressure on Bookshelf and wanting to walk away. This is a position we've seen a lot in Buell that needs to be taken, or it needs to be used. Because simply put, if you don't take control of that Bookshelf, you don't have a way out of sight. Benji would just be able to play over there and apply a lot of pressure and study. That's not going to happen with Dicta finding that kill, and Gady, all on their lonesome, doesn't have a rotate out of Vault. In fact, they reinforced it. We'll be able to find 1 kill, but you reinforce the Vault. You run around, Volcanoid's able to find the refrag. A 3 versus 4, Quambat in a very good position now, because they can look at getting this utility gone. That's Proctor's position, even harder to maintain. You have to play the Pixel, you have to play Equip. But Breach is getting open up. Suddenly you're going to get pushed from behind, and the Breach, the impact trick will come out, Jerry, and it is a bit of a saving grace for Ludens, but you're feeling the Sharks starting to circle, aren't you?
Yeah, and I was going to say at the start of this round, why are you not bringing a Nomad when you're basically using her, the Gridlock, as a Nomad? It'd be a much better alternative, but look at the HP on that Thick Lock. She would not have survived had she been a Nomad. That's a fantastic choice in retrospect to go with the 3 armor. So I guess I'll just eat my words, and Volcanoid will eat a bullet, just as I'm praising them. KK does go down at range from JMXC, who's pushing in through this wonderful master doorway, or that's a wonderful sightline, I should say. It's been opened up by the Selma. Proctor does swing on the Yana, though, and collect the kill. So 2 versus 3 now. Volcanoid has been brought back up. So you hear that goo mine go out. You know that Gorilla's trying to push on through. Manages to clear a bit of utility there, I believe, a mute jammer. Now he's in a position where he can try and stick this plant.
Yes, 30 seconds, and you have got these crossfires set up from the attackers, but Proctor's on the flank. I'm not sure. I think Gorilla is kind of suspicious. They realize, okay, well, we haven't done anything yet. Proctor, a very, very tentative position, especially on your own. You're able to find this one down, but immediately you need to be able to find the second kill. Volcanoid will be coming around, and after that revive will have that 25 HP. Gets taken away by Proctor. It's going to be down to Beyonk, who finds Jobu. You need to stop that defuse from coming through, though. You're able to find the kill and make sure that happens. Quombat will find their attacking round to match up with Lockdown Luden's defensive round. I need to stop saying Lockdown Luden's, but ultimately, in my heart, they will always be them. What I really liked from Quombat was the allocation of resources they had. As soon, even though Proctor and it was Benji, I believe, Giobu, sorry. Benji and Giobu, they were in towards that Astra side. Whether or not we saw Proctor drop, they still had good positioning. They had Statue. They had Astra rotate covered. The only real opportunity is that master bedroom, and you had a player over towards there as well of JMX. They played it so very, very well with the resources that they had. It was a huge effort for Ludens to even get close to winning that out, in my opinion. But they nearly got there. I feel like this is going to be a tight game, Jerry.
It could be. And 1-1 would certainly suggest that we're going to get there. But the nature of that round as well, just emphasizing the fact that there's not too much separating these two teams right here. Only time will tell for the time being. I don't have much to say about that round, quite honestly. It was just very well done by both sides, ultimately. And it was unfortunate in the post-plant that Ludens couldn't grab that clutch. I feel as though Proctor did kind of play out of his mind in that attempt, but just wasn't quite enough. And they are perfectly within their right to go for a very similar hold to give it another swing of the bat and see if they come out on top this time.
Yeah, I feel like that's a fair assessment. You look at it and you say, well, they got really close. They were in a position where they could have won it out. I mean, it came off the back of a 2 versus 3, but you were nearly able to get it. There was a lot there that meant that was winnable, rather than just a incredible effort coming out from Proctor. It was played well overall as a round from Ludens. I feel like they delayed very nicely, and they want to keep doing that. The big change I want is I want Gady to have a rotate, because as soon as he got that kill to refrag Benji, he was being pushed by Volcanoid, sorry, and that's something you can't allow. Benji has switched on to this one high, though, and that will help him on 90, won't it?
Yeah, it will let him hold off the push that Dicta is providing, but those frisbees don't save you from a bullet to the head, and now Gady is left all on their lonesome in this southern side of the map. Volcanoid holding a very cheeky prone angle against that doorway. No chance for Gady to try and get aggressive and push into study, but fallen back into skull for the time being anyway. Knows that 90 is likely occupied by the Zavia. Does light up Volcanoid, who does finally try and go for the swing. Got the protection of an Aruni gate to the left, so again, though, that won't stop bullets, so you've got to be careful on your flee. Maybe using a bit of that tech I was talking about might be the way forward, but actually Dicta is the one to go down in response, and this is interesting right now. Gady has managed to flee down those red stairs and is back up in Astro now. Dicta is being res, but JMXC, is that the Yana already inside of Master? I believe it is.
Yeah. You have Beyonk on that flank camera right now, watching it, making sure that bathroom is covered. Suddenly JMX rotates. They're covering it while this wall gets open. This is really good coordination that you don't expect to see on the first Playdate, but I'm really happy that it is there. KK yet again will be able to impact trick this out. However, Call Me Dicta being shot from behind. Yobu will get a refrag, and Gady want to add on to it, but That breach can only be kept shut for so long. The kill onto the ace will have to come through, although those summer charges are already used, but time is ticking down. 3 versus 3. Gady in a very precarious position. You have the diffuser. You know they've got to come for you. 2 players in master bedroom means that this might just be a round for the Ludens. Volcanoid, you have to try something, a super shorty, if you're going to peek this angle. But you need that Yana. Volcanoid's going to be able to... is not going to be able to get the diffuser, actually. She's going to be taken away. And suddenly, JMXC and Bonk need to play for frags. Bonk's going to be taken away, and JMXC, it's all down to you. Are you able to find a single kill? There's a player tight left. Do you know about that? Do Ludens have the defense? The pre-fire finds one, but you need to try and take 2 kills, and they're the other side of the map. It's just not going to happen. Ludens, the end of that round was played so beautifully.
It really was. Protecting the diffuser in a situation like that, absolutely the play from the defensive side. So very well done to grab the frag onto Volcanoid. The gridlock goes down, and then suddenly you're completely stranded as an attacking side from your win condition. And the other win condition, getting frags, becomes absolutely impossible when you see that last defender heading for the hills. We did see it in the final moments there. The silhouette of, I believe, it was Benji, wasn't it, on the Aruni? I'm not quite sure. Or was it Gady? Gady on the Aruni. Fleeing towards 90, making it absolutely impossible for anyone on the Combat Wombats to pull back and make a massive clutch. That moment there, I think, was so crucial. This crossfire that the attackers had established into Trophy, or into Statue rather, just didn't work for them. The players on Lockdown Ludens, or Ludens rather, just won their ones. They swung those doorways and actually collected frags that, honestly, I don't think they should have. So props to them for getting those key frags in the dying few seconds, and that's collected them another round, 2-1 the scoreline, as we're halfway through this first half.
I mean, you're looking at this setup, and on this map, it's quite an interesting position, because I say, okay, I look at this and I'm like, okay, well, Combat, they'd be in a good position if they can keep picking up a round for each round Ludens pick up. If they was to win this round now, I'd be quite happy with that. But I'm going to link it back to what I said before. An aggressive team can really make Villa their map. I feel like Ludens, they definitely have what it takes. They have good aggression, they have good gun skill, and the scariest part is, Jerry, I'm sure you'll agree, they're smart.
Yeah. They're coordinated. They've been together for so long, and they know what they're doing, that they play to win. They're not playing for the frags like we might see from other teams in situations like that, where it gets tense, it's down to the final few seconds. They know that their lives are more important than the kills in those situations, and that is just a sign of experience and a sign of sort of discipline, I suppose, at this level. No one's looking to improve at an individual, or no, not improve. No one's looking to impress anyone, especially at an individual level. They want to show that they are the team that can win this season. So that is admirable. I personally think that's admirable at this sort of level, where a lot of players may be thinking that this is a kind of highlight reel for them and their opportunity to really come out and shine. And sure, that is a big part of playing competitive at this level, but Lockdown Ludens, I keep saying Lockdown Ludens.
They're Lockdown Ludens, we all know.
It's going to take forever to like reassert that in my brain, but Ludens, they're certainly showing that they are the team to sort of fear at the moment, I think.
The thing is, Jerry, as we will see a C4 from Benji go off, that's the only one they have, Jobu's still on that bulletproof camera, is that it's because it's not that big of a change. We just see Ludens and think, yeah, it's the Lockdown Ludens. It's not like they've changed to, I don't know, Maker's Academy, which would be a great pickup if anyone's watching. In my professional opinion, the last Maker's Academy roster was great, but I don't know, I'd like to see Ludens get picked up by a team. Or any team in Boo.
I think they deserve it. They certainly deserve representation by a good org, I think, at this point.
As you've said, getting in the Bool highlight reel is great, but getting the rewards is just that little bit better, and you're going to do that by playing together, which is exactly what Jobu and Gady are doing. Their names are similar, and my god, they play together, just stuck, glued to each other. Right now, though, there's going to be a big issue if Yonk and Gorilla G decide to go for the pinch. That means they're probably going to want to have to back out of this. Jobu will have the opportunity to shoot the Selma, but if you do, you give yourself away. If you do, suddenly that study hole just becomes a lot less powerful. 30 seconds left, and a single player has not been killed yet. That's going to
Say
be
that.
changed, though, by Dicta.
Finally, the Caster's Curse comes good. Dicta finds one, but is down in the process on 90. I believe that might have been from below, but in the meantime, this study hold is so astute. Benji's managing to get a couple of kills, though, onto Dicta, confirming it, and Volcanoid, but it's only 6 seconds left. Surely Combat have nothing left in the tank here. Jobu finds JMXC. Gorilla Cheek now left wondering what could have been on this rappel. It's not enough to just surround the site. You have to get a push going at some point, and Combat Wombat's just waited far too long.
I will agree with you. 30 seconds before we saw that first kill. 30 seconds before we even saw Combat Wombat really trying to push. You can't allow that. I mean, you had 90 control. I feel like it's a case of they're getting this utility open a little bit too late. I feel like they're worrying a bit too much about where these players could be. You need to kind of just be able to get that confidence and get that aggression. Because if you're stalling out, you're only benefiting the Ludens when it comes to these late round positions. And like we saw, Benji was able to clean up on 90. He got aggressive. He was able to find 2 kills. Suddenly, the rest of your team, you're panicking. You're worried because you're saying, well, we've just lost 90. They're going to come from that position. We need to get onto site. And Jerry, well, that's where you see exactly what just happened. You walk right into the rest of the Ludens who are waiting for you. You have Gady, Jobu over towards Study. And they're just picking them apart from the Selmas that the attackers made. Ultimately, going to Kitchen Dining, I feel like Ludens have demonstrated that they do deserve to play this position. They've played the time well. They've played the card that they've been dealt with the Combat Wombat attack very, very nicely. Yes, you may lose an opening player, but the way that they respond to it is very, very good.
So for this defense, I'm always intrigued as to the type of attack that is going to come through. Lockdown Ludens, before we move on to the attack, have not opted to bring a pulse, and I feel as though that is an interesting move, because one of the biggest options you have as an attacking side on a dining take is to send a few bodies, if not all the bodies, up from the basement through that pantry entryway. And the way that Combat Wombats have stacked up was initially indicating to me that that might be part of their play, but it looks as though they're more concerned with taking top down. However, they're not making the mistake that I think a lot of teams make, trying to go for full clear of the top floor. Instead, they're focusing just on this master bedroom side. Once you get hold of here up to that trophy and statue doorway, then it's a fairly easy job to hold the flank against anyone that tries to do it. If you go for the full map control, then you just leave yourself with not enough time. And I believe at this level, with the sort of newness of the team of Combat Wombats, they don't want to be relying too heavily on that sort of push. So this is a good move from them. However, the holes are prepped from below. Call me Dicta lucky perhaps to escape with her life in that situation. She pushes on through the window and the shotgun pellets do not connect. But this is the drone work coming through from Combat. They've located Benji inside a statue. They need to fish him out.
Yes, they do. Benji holding that position. He has that one wall of triple soft. But remember, it's just going to be like chasing someone around the table. You go one way, they're going to go the other. Proctor will be able to find that first kill. The yellow ping will come out onto this player, but who's going to act upon it? Combat, you've already lost that opening player. Dicta, one of the more experienced players for Buell, already taken away. JMX is going to be following her and will be onto those cameras. And we're looking at Quombat's maybe playing it a little bit isolated, maybe a little bit away from each other, because there's no refrags coming out. There's no pressure on these roamers. It feels very much like Luden's going to take this to 4-1. There is a minute left. There is potential to bring it back, and Proctor's going to try and stop that.
Volcanoid almost stepping off the roof there, but won't die to the pratfall. Bionk finally gets a frag for the side of Combat, taking out Proctor. Losing the Mozzie is not the biggest deal at this situation, but the body is more important than the operator. There we go. Benji going down as well. Great push coming through from Bionk, using the sound of the Selma to mask his push. Excellent play. And now Gady has to fall back in this situation. Does want to play the 3 versus 2 on site, making sure that he escapes into Memorial. There could have been an awkward moment there as Volcanoid was in a position perhaps to hold that red hallway, but an opportunity missed for the attacking side in that instance. Volcanoid has already dropped down here though. They're making quick work, and they have to with only 20 seconds left. This Aruni Gate and now Elysian Mine in their way. Second gridlock canister goes out, maybe to mask sound. Only 12 seconds left. Gady holding from bike storage, and Volcanoid does seem to be aware of it. KK does find Bionk on the other push, and Gade wins that one out. So an easy hold, as it turns out, for the Ludens. Once again, they get a defensive round, and that's a perfect circuit completed.
It really is, and I look at this 4-1, I feel... Trophy Statue, this is the only round we've seen Quombat being able to win out, because they played together. They played a coordinated game, they had a really strong post plan. That was where they really benefited, as well as a pretty good roam clear as well, you have to say it. But the big problem is, for me, in that last round, and the rest of the rounds that we've been seeing, is Combat Wombat. They need to be playing together. I mean, it's all great and such when you look at Bionk and Volcanoid in the last 20 seconds. Yeah, they're working together. They're dropping together and saying, right, time is getting low. We need to play refrags. We need to play for frags. We need to just get onto site. That's not going to happen. Because you've already made the mistake. You're in the position of paying for it at this point. You gotta sort out these issues from the start, in my opinion, and I feel like watching Dicta going for a gunfight on her own, watching JMX going for the refrag on their own, I just need to see these players start to stack up together. And I mean, it's a horrible position, but you look at the Luden's secondary gadget setup, they only have one C4, and I feel like that isn't really gonna punish them as much as some other teams might. Combat Wombat, play together if that's the one thing you take from this game.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, you've got to say as well, like the lack of C4s isn't a bad thing for the way that Lockdown Ludens are playing this. They're playing fairly patient, and I suppose on this loadout, on this lineup, for instance, is a good example. Jobu, instead bringing that deployable camera, having a little bit more intel on the side, just means that they can play a little bit more passive. They don't need to be trying to go for these C4s necessarily, or going all in with the C4 strategy that we see a lot of teams employ. And it just helps them. It helps them with their positioning. It helps them with their coordination. Having an extra eye on the field that can just be accessed by any other player. So I think it works for them. And, you know, 4-1, at 4-1, I don't think we're in any position to sort of say, oh, they should be doing this better, because they're clearly getting the results.
Call Me Dicta will be triggering a proximity mine in a very shuddering start, really. Benji's going to be able to try and find the kill, but isn't going to get it. Gady does damage to Volcanoid, but, well, you have to pull back. That 90 is gone. Very explosive start, one that I've really wanted to see, to be honest, from Combat Wombat. They're trying to limit the options that Ludens have at the moment. Gady has a C4. Gady also has the knowledge that Job has been able to pull back, and is at least able to cover 90, so now Gady actually has an opportunity. Dicta, without that rotating vault, will now have to come over towards that map room, but JMX going to be able to find Proctor. Means Combat Wombat, this might be the change that you need. Question is it a little bit too late? Half the round is gone on the clock, and, well, a 4-2 split is all but guaranteed at this point for Ludens. It's really their round to win, as Combat Wombat just start to take their time a little bit more.
I don't know about that. 5 versus 3 in favour of Combat. This looks like... Oh, yeah, 4-2. Yeah, sorry, you're correct. The JMXC well. Yeah, I'm getting my teams confused. Sorry, I called you out and I was completely wrong. Pionk is their supporting JMX, who otherwise has done a fantastic job of this solo push towards Master Bedroom. Now finally has the ace in tow as well. And KK and Gady now stacked up inside of Astro. C4 goes out, doesn't quite connect enough. Gady will, however, finish off Dicta with that commando. Bionk finding KK, though, means it's going to have to be an ace clutch here from Gady. Gets started by finding one and a second. That's a triple on the round, but JMXC once again stepping up to the plate and shutting down any attempt at a clutch. And that is a wonderful round from the attacking side of Combat Wombats. They stem the bleeding for now, ending their attacking half on a 4-2 split.
Ideally on Villa, you want a 3-3 split on attack.
Yeah.
Unfortunately though, you need to take a 4-2 split because that's all you've got. Definitely, they looked at a lot of the issues that we were talking about before, Jerry, and they said, yes, we'll fix this, we'll sort it out. And they did that. They played together, they played explosively, they caught Ludens off guard 100%. Don't get me wrong, but the big problem is that was your last attacking round to do it. And on the defense, it's a slightly different place. So obviously, aggression can help. But you might not have that support of these players. And the individual decision-making when it comes to gunfights is definitely one of the parts where I want to see the improvement over the next couple of weeks. I don't feel like putting players like JMXC on the roam is the best decision strategy-wise. I feel like Volcanoid and Call Me Dicta are probably the better operators for it, and better players for it, with that experience. The big problem is I'm expecting to see Ludens have a very structured roam clear, a very, very well-coordinated take on this site. They've been playing for the best part of a year together now.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
And they have the tools for the job, right? They've got KK on that Nomad, which I was saying at the very start is probably the superior option to the gridlock that we saw Volcanoid bringing out continually. They've got Proctor on the Yana, who's seeing continually rising play across all levels, which is really, really satisfying for me because I've been harking on about how good she is for the longest time, and I absolutely adore playing as the Dutch Moon unit, as I have called her in recent history. But the one thing, I think, the one shining thing from that entire half by Combat Wombat was, for me, Dicta on entry. We saw it in the stats up there from the R6 Analyst tab as it came up at the end of the half. 5 and 1. And those didn't necessarily translate into round wins every time, but the two that they did grab were entry kills from, or the entries were gained by Call Me Dicta in those rounds. So clearly having an impact, a very high cost as well. 83% on a losing side is very good. Obviously, you want to be winning those rounds, but at least you know that Dicta's making that contribution. It's maybe falling perhaps on the shoulders of the rest of them around her at this moment in time. So I'd like to see JMX step it up a bit. I'd like to see Volcanoid step it up. I'd like to see everyone step it up a bit and match Dicta's impact. Even though JMX has the same number of kills, I just think Dicta's had more of an impact in this game.
Yeah, the impact of a kill is also just as important. I feel like that's something obviously reflected by that scoreline. I feel like Ludens, they've had very, very impactful plays, very impactful kills. Do you want to know what I call Diana? She's the thinking man's Ashe. And I coined this for her at the end of, I believe, Neon Dawn. Because you're looking at Proctor. Yana is very, very capable as a fragging operator, able to find a kill and able to shoot out that C4 in midair on red stairs, but still has a frag grenade left. And if, that is a big if, Proctor decides they want to run that on 6, it's only have the same amount of destruction as Ashe did before she lost the charge. With that rekill change, a lot of people want to take it away. Now Benji will be able to find a kill onto Gorilla Cheek and Dicta, looking for something, but it's not going to happen. Benji's going to be able to find it. Bionk has to get on the aggression. Proctor will lose some damage, but it's all down to you. An ace clutch on the cards yet again, but it's not going to happen. The Ludens are going to close it down and pick up their first attacking round very confidently, very structured, and most importantly, almost untouchable.
Yeah, they completely dismantled the defense there from Combat Wombats. We saw a brief moment of Jobu playing around those study windows and that study balcony, getting the Selmas onto the walls in study. And one thing that maybe might have gone unnoticed, the fact that I believe that the bandit had electrocuted most of those walls. Certainly one of them, looking towards bar into games, was electrocuted, and I believe the one to the left of it wasn't. That says to me that likely it was removed at some point, and that was a key part of Luden's attack strategy, was sending someone either beneath or applying pressure with a grenade or something towards that location. And it just meant that, like, this tiny little opening suddenly makes a really important anchor position for the defenders completely uninhabitable. And that was coming through at the same time as the main push from Lockdown Luden. So you know that bodies are going to be moving. You know that they're going to be there are going to be opportunities to get kills because they have to be unseated. And Lockdown Ludens, they coordinated across the map their push. It was wonderful to see, and there's, you know, that's the reason that they got a flawless round right there. I think is little moments like that duplicated, then some across the whole round.
I feel like I'm looking at Ludens and the way that they played that last round. I feel like that Valkyrie ban hasn't. They were prepared to deal with it anyway. Because you look at Yana, and that Yana does the baiting. It takes away those C4s and it says, this isn't an issue for me. I'm going to run over a Gemini that will give me 10, 20 seconds, reset. I get to use it. I get to clear out more of your utility that way. Ludens, they have a very set game plan, and it's just working out for them. Dicta will have to... I really want to see Dicta start causing issues alongside JMXC. Wanting to make that happen, we'll get the Gemini and realize you gotta pull back. You don't stay in Master Bedroom after a play like that. you gotta pull back. That's because these drones are coming by. And Dicta, the longer the Dicta is undetected, the more dangerous she is going to get. She can get down below those C4s. And Jerry, we've already talked about 90 hallway, but it's something I've asked you to do before, and I'd like you to do it again. Take a look at pretty much all of the flooring on this map. It's quite soft, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lovely pine wood, which our wonderful observer is just displaying for us. Thank you very much, Science. And the carpets are, of course, important as well. There's lots and lots of carpets. They all look the same in certain corners. I do remember it was something like 12 rugs across the whole of Villa. They're all exactly the same, or at least there are several that are the same. I'm getting distracted though because Gady is finally pushing up towards 90. I don't think that Dicta has the intel to go for these C4s until Ludens get closer to site, and it can come from the teammates themselves.
Yes, I feel like Zombie Door, that's why we're going to see a huge C4 coming out from, but she's already used hers. It's going to be down to JMXC, who I believe has just started to pull back, play it safe. The Uncle takes some damage, but isn't going to die just yet. That's actually going to be Proctor, the MP5 of JMXC, going to be able to find that frag, and suddenly you look at Ludens, they have to fill in a gap, and suddenly that 90 might just be a little bit weaker. It's going to be KK wanting to take up that position. JMX doesn't know. Slowly peeking forward, will be not able to find the kill. We'll have to back off anyway. Both players tagged up and probably kicking themselves after that, but Benji will fall, and suddenly Combat Wombat looking to stave off match point, have a really good option to do it. Look at that Gady going down. Suddenly, one bullet. These last two players, they are split apart horribly, drastically. KK can't even go for the revive just yet. They don't know. And now, one thing we will know is that Gady will be taken off the board. KK Jobu in a 2 versus 5. Smoke Canisters doing an incredible job there. We didn't see them that much in Oregon, but now we're seeing why they're important. Smoking off both doorways. KK can't push in. Jobu had to, but isn't able to find that kill. And Combat Wombats, they are 1 kill away from keeping inside this fight. Match point staved off, and defensive round has been won.
So many incomplete frags there from Lockdown Ludens, and what I mean by that is there are a lot of fights taken and a lot of players on the side of Combat Wombats that had 20, 30 HP or so left at the end of that round. That just spells a lot of missed opportunities from Ludens. They took a couple of fights and they just weren't landing enough shots. That one between the Nomad and the player at the top of main stairs exemplified it all for me. I believe it was Dicta on the Mozzie. Lots of shots fired. No, sorry, hang on. It was a different fight I'm thinking of. The Malusi, that was it. JMXC towards the player inside of around Skull. Just lots of shots fired back and forth. And sure, that was an instance where Combat Wombat also took a lot, or Lockdown Ludens also took a lot of damage. But that's a missed opportunity for the attackers. That was a situation where I was going to say, JM, you're playing in a very aggressive position here. You don't need to be doing this with this man advantage. But if you're not punished for something like that, then you're going to do well on the defense. And I think that Lockdown Ludens, they probably just are kicking themselves after that round, really, because they did have it in them to win it.
Yeah, I've been looking at it as a blip. But right now, Ludens are in a quite comfortable position. 2 rounds between them and Combat Wombats. What I want to see from the Wombats now is just more of that. I want to see them just finding these errors, these lapses in judgment. I want to see Dicta saying, okay, I can go down below. They haven't fully cleared me out. They saw me. They didn't actually do anything to me. That's the kind of play that I want to see. And I want to see these alibis as well. I want to see you swinging off this information. If you can catch somebody and you're ready to swing it as soon as that pops, take it. Dicta, I want you to hold this bookshelf. You have been, in my opinion, the MVP for Combat Wombats. Do not let me down. That's all I'm going to say on that. But more importantly, if we can take a look very, very quickly over towards that trophy side, I have a very important question from Jerry.
Go on.
You know how there's you see the little trophy in there, as Dicta will find that 1 kill? Is that placed on the rug, or is the rug cut around it?
What? Why would you cut a rug?
I don't know.
Nah, no way is that cut around. They've put it on top of the rug. But that is really weird interior design. To be fair, like putting
that's
a
a pretty
big kind of, it's a big hefty
Big
cake.
heavy, is yeah.
Yeah,
That would ruin the rug anyway. You might as well
But
rest.
they've also got a bomb on it, which is just, I mean, that's just
health and safety.
inconsiderate of the terrorists. Like,
Probably a nice
you know,
rug.
why can't they
look
just
at
be
this building.
respectful?
Look at this building, Jerry. They probably paid a lot of rug for that, a lot of money for that rug. Oh my lord!
There's an
Dicta.
upturned cabinet as well on 90. Everything's a mess. This villa needs some TLC, if you ask me.
Yeah, that is important. You gotta look after your place. You know, it's
Yeah.
happy home, happy life. But right now, Ludens, they're doing their bit to destroy this happy home, and they certainly want Combat Wombats have an unhappy life in game. Gotta make that very clear, Jerry. It has to be in game.
It's
Right
being
now-
game, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure there is no ill will between these players. They probably know each other because the uni scene is a tight scene, and I love it. Right now, Ludens, they need to play tight together because these Banshees are going to give away information that's going to be begging for a C4, which Combat Wombats only have one of. But
That feels
Ludens
like a
don't
bit of
exactly know where it is.
Oh, that's a brilliant nade.
Oh,
What a nade. And Benji will confirm the kill from
below.
beneath. Great job by the Sledge. Proctor catching out JM as well. And now a lot rests on the hands of Dicta on this flank. Basically having to time it perfectly to assist the 2 versus 4 in favour of the attackers on the site. Gady is aware of this potential. No, looking the wrong way. Dicta finds the head of Gady. So now an even man count, and the attackers find themselves sandwiched between the anchors and Dicta on this roam, still unchecked. Bionk is aware, though, that someone has pushed on in... No, perhaps a little bit paranoid. Knows that someone's at the top of Astro as the bullets come raining in, but with only 10 seconds left, a move has to be made to come through Astro. Proctor is waiting in place, and there we go. Benji gets on in. Jobu was... Proctor was there. Jobu has to come off the plant, aware of the last player, but Dicta's just hiding. Jobu has to stick the diffuser, but Dicta runs out and gets it. Oh my god, the cover was not there from the teammate. Dicta, what a round from the Mozzie.
that was so uncomfortable. You're looking at Ludens. That was such a tentative hold that they had. They had a player top Astro and they had a player in Trophy.
I didn't realise how long they had someone in Trophy. I thought that Yana was on the balcony for the longest time. She was just sitting in sight for ages.
They
It's
didn't
nuts.
act. They didn't act on it.
No.
They had this control and they weren't able to consolidate it. They were in the site. They'd have control of split, but they weren't able to actually make something of it. I mean, they found a kill and they realized, okay, well, in my mind, I'm looking at Ludens and I'm saying, well, there's 2 players on site maximum, because we already know that Mozzie just killed Zafir. So that's when Proctor went into sight, I assume, to get away from Dicta, because they realized she was going to be a bit of an issue. And now, Ludens, they're trying to push onto site, but they don't actually push. They don't actually go for a plan. They're in the site, but they do not have control. And Combat Wombat, they were able to play the time very nicely. They went for the peaks. They were able to stop that plant going down. Call me Dicta, able to somehow win that gunfight against Proctor, who was prone. Very nicely done. Ultimately, it just came down to Combat Wombat playing the end round very, very nicely. And it's as long as they don't give away these early mistakes, as in getting aggressive, trying to take these gunfights very early on, I feel like they do quite well. The big thing for Combat Wombats is they definitely have started to play together, Jerry, as they've gone down to that tertiary site, looking to complete a full rotation.
It's an exciting one. They've managed that 2 defensive rounds in a row, and now they're on this tertiary one, as you mentioned, looking to hold the top floor quite heavily, it would seem. We've got a few bodies up here. Geddy, though, scouting out the bathroom and master bedroom area. They already have someone on Astro Repel, so this is going to be fairly quick control for them. Sorry, this is not on the Repel. This is Benji just on that little roof of the archway, so a nice little angle to look towards the door. An alternative way of holding it, if you ask me. A very nice one, because it's unlikely to be checked, so it gives you a little bit more maneuverability as an attacker, so it's a good option. That being said, upside down Repel is always a deadly force to be reckoned with, so you've got options. And as I said, that there was top floor presence, it looks like any remnants of that, even if there was one to begin with, I may have been mistaken, have been discarded now. Combat Wombats opting to hunker down, which is a fairly odd choice for this site, because now they're at the mercy of the vertical play, and very few C4s to leverage in reverse.
I even without these C4s, I feel like with Valkyrie being banned You bring the pulse. There's very little reason not to, and some explosives will go out. We will see Young taking some damage, but I feel like Combat Wombats are definitely relying upon JMXC to really step up with this flank. Playing over towards Study, though, look at that. Half the round is gone. The vertical play has begun. Ludens are already exerting this control. And the big problem with this flank is you can't rely on it to win. This flank needs to be timed perfectly. And you need to let them get a lot of control. And most importantly, not get shot out like Gady. So now call me Dictor. You're becoming the key linchpin of this defense. You're holding this back. You're hiding the bike shed. You're making sure that Proctor doesn't just walk onto site, but then you need to make sure that everybody else doesn't either. Proctor has information, but Benji has gone down, injured. Ooh, Proctor nearly got the wall bang, and Benji will be revived from his soft breach brother. That is the bug. 46 seconds left on the clock. Wanting to turn the tables with the vertical play, but nobody is peeking yet. Call Me Dictor is back on the flank, but this is something we talked about before, Jerry. You're relying on a lot of things to go right for this to work out, but Dictor, your timing was right. You're able to find Benji with Proctor getting a refrag. 30 seconds left, and the Older is waiting on sight.
Certainly is. Not just that, but Gorilla and Dictor coming on up this closet stairs, and Proctor will shut out the flanking Jaeger, but surely doesn't expect the mute as well. The push has come through. Diffuser can start to come down. Volcanoid wants to come through the rotate, but Gady is there. Sorry, KK from behind, in fact, to take that one down. It's all up to Gorilla, who does find the head of Proctor, but the Diffuser does go down in response, and KK holding the angle yet again. The final 2 kills of the round going towards that buck. And a great take coming through from Lockdown Ludens, but you gotta say Combat Wombats made it easy for them.
They did. I mean, I feel like JMXC played it a little bit too aggressive, because if you go for that flank that early on, not only do you have Ludens trying to clear you out, watching these flanks, well, even if you do get a kill, unless you come up absolutely huge and get 3 kills, you're going to have very little impact that early into the round. Which meant Ludens had a lot of time to kind of work out what they were doing, to get this vertical play done, to get this utility off the board. Combat Wombat, they needed a heavier top floor presence, or they needed a pulse. That's my analysis. That's pretty much it. Yeah. I don't really see anything else they could have done that really had that much of an impact. Ludens, match point, wanted to take their first win of the season.
I just want to credit the fact that Gady went into that first gunfight with such confidence on the Zofia. Catching the flank out immediately. Had a little bit of intel on their side to take out Bionk, I believe it was, as the Jaeger. Not the Jaeger, sorry. In fact, they've swapped roles, so I'm not going to go for a name here. But it was a player coming through the Aviator room. And the swing was just perfectly timed by the Zofia. Completely caught that player off guard. So it was good. It immediately said to me that Ludens believe they're about to win this round, because it was just the raw confidence of going for that fight. And yeah, you've got to apply some more pressure than that, Combat Wombats, I think, on a dining defense. It was a little bit pitiful, I've got to say. I hate being harsh, especially to a new team. Dictor just missing out a little bit there. Unfortunate with the timing. You got to get it perfect when you go for that one. Got the seconds down to fine art, but just a little bit early.
Yeah, Picasso more kind of looking like the something I drew back in primary school. Oh well, what can you do? Dictor didn't go for it again, which was the right decision. Has backed up and said, they know I'm here. They're gonna drone me out. I'm down on the bottom floor. JMX, you've been able to get quite a few kills on the roam. You've been able to play a roam quite nicely 9 times out of 10. Let's just hope that last round was that one time you couldn't. This round, you're really going to step up. Ludens, they need to get this droning. They need to get it tight. Because think about it, Jerry, you might see us going into the same position of our last map, where you get onto match point and then suddenly you start losing those rounds. Well, Gady is going to be leading to that. Will be the first domino to fall. The question is, will the rest? A refrag will be needed, but none will be offered by Dictor unless you really want to go out of your way. Very nicely played by the Mozzie. Now she can just get back to site.
Yeah, and it's once again that impact player, Dictor, felling Gady, who got the opening frag last time round, so a big one. Dictor also not done just yet, looking to come up red stairs. No C4 in hand, but she is droned out, so she'll fall back down to that playground of the basement. But being locked on this side of the map is a little bit difficult as a roamer. You don't have the option to fall back to site quite as easily as you may hope. especially if the attackers have a lock on the sort of bottom of Astro Stairs area. They've got the opportunity to hold angles. You can see KK droning right now through 90, but is also in a position perhaps to try and hold a flank and come off that. Dicta, though, is going to go up these stairs. We don't have a Nomad in play, so should be free to do so. Proctor finds Gorilla Cheek, and that is evening out the difference, but more importantly, getting rid of the smoke before the execute. And Proctor finding JM. Suddenly, this is starting to turn in the tide of Ludens. Another one goes down in the name of Volcanoid. Bionk swings, but can't land the shots. And now it's all on Dicta. Just like that, the Ludens have pulled together a brilliant attack. Dicta finds Proctor, but cannot deny the defuse plant. And now time is against her. She has to keep her team in this one with a massive 1v4 ace clutch if she is to do it. Knows the location of one, can see the leg, lands a few shots, but no, Jobu just gets the crucial ones in return, and that is it, everybody. Ludens fighting their first win of the season against a formidable Combat Wombat side, but the experience just showed through.
Yes, you look at the Ludens and the experience was there. They played together for 3 consecutive seasons now. All 5 of these players are the only team to be the same as they were on Playday 1 of Season 1. And it shows, like you said, they have that coordination. They have that strategies. They are confident in how they play. A lot of these things translated into their gameplay and their game style. I feel like there was a lot that could have been done. I feel like Dicta, Volcanoid, and JMX certainly did a massive, massive effort to try and exploit it. I mean, we saw Dicta, she said, well, there is no Nomad. I'm going to go try and play my life. I'm going to try and catch him on 90. But by that point, we're seeing the rest of Combat Wombat starting to peak out into 90 in a very severely outmatched, outnumbered position. It just comes down to experience, I think. And yet again, as we saw with Team Atlas, it's going to be VOD review. It's going to be working on these problems because there were good rounds. When they played together, Jerry, especially on that defensive side, they really stepped up. They had better reflex. They had better positioning. They understood the game a lot more, and it seemed a lot simpler to them on what they should do if they played together. It's just getting that first step for me, and I feel they can also be a strong team, and that's what I love about Buell. You can't really count anybody out, can you?
Not yet, no. It's just an early stage, and it's a tale as old as time, right? The MVP of that game was 100% Dicta. The impact she had on almost every round was unquestionable. 7-1 on the entry by the end of the game, which is phenomenal, and brilliant kill stats as well to back that up. But ultimately, the better team won, and I could not pick out a single player on the side of Ludens that shone so brightly that it dimmed the rest of them. They were just a fantastic squad all round today, and that's what matters at the end of the day. They've grabbed themselves the 3 points, and I think, Combat Wombats, you've got a really talented roster. You've got a really talented player, especially in the name of Dicta, who came through today. But everyone, just take your time. Don't let it knock you. This is obviously a very good test for the early season to come up against an established squad like Lockdown Ludens. So learn what you can from this game and move forward with confidence. But speaking of moving forward, we're going to be taking a short break before we go into the final game of today's broadcast. That is going to be Veggie Patch versus the champions of last season of Badass University All-Stars, Team Triton. Don't go far.
fire, I could conquer the night. If I can make it, if I try to draw the red light, I could run through the fire, I could conquer the night. If I can make it, if I try to draw the red, I could, I could, I could, I could,
I could run through the fire.
conquer the night. If I can make it, if I try to draw the red light, I could run through the fire, I could conquer the night. If I can make it, if I try to draw the red, I could, I could, I could, I could,
I could run through the fire.
Keep thinking that.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and men of music, as Jerry might be. We are back with our third and final game of the day, and Jerry, the words barn burner have been officially banned by the casting community, so I'm going to go with the fire burner. It's a massive game.
Slobberknocker's a good one from demo.
Ooh.
I think he loves Slobberknocker.
I think we'll have Slobberknocker, yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's a good one.
this is a good Slobberknocker. It's a good barn burner. It's Veggie Patch versus Triton, and that is, well, Triton we all know and love. We've got a very familiar lineup here with a slight alteration, if I'm not mistaken. Octagon, Replay, Matum, Sardine, and Milesaurus, I believe, is a new name to that roster. If I'm not entirely mistaken, yet get approving nod from McCready. And then on the side of Veggie Patch, well, maybe you want to list off these players because there's some names here that are definitely familiar.
Yes, well, I mean, starting with Team Triton, obviously, I know it's literally the opposite of what you said, but Team Triton,
go on.
I look at Octagon and Sardine. Now, Sardine is from Kent University, but was originally at Cardiff University, and that's what makes this game very, very enjoyable for me.
course.
Obviously. No, but Jerry, that's not where the bias ends. Octagon and Sardine have actually not been able to play on a team together at Cardiff University, but one of the players on the other team has. Bill Gray, also from Cardiff University. You obviously will recognise him, Jerry, from the Newell Yukon Division 2 team that actually had a really good run, very impressive, and narrowly missed out on those playoffs. And also, you look towards players like Sturksy. I want to talk about Tsunami and Stakes as well. These are players that play with altogether. Honestly, everything about this game tells me it's going to be incredible, and I can't wait, Jerry. So let's get these maps up.
Yeah, let's see where we're going. So we've already had Oregon and Villa do us a solid Triton and Veggie Patch and bring us somewhere new. Villa gone, Clubhouse, Chalet and Coastline. So Oregon's still in the pool here, and it is actually going to be a second Oregon of the day. So we get ourselves a lovely Villa sandwich with some tasty 9-grain Oregon bread to hold it all together on our broadcast today. And it's going to have some corn in it, this bread. The top side has corn in. That's how it works, is it's Veggie Patch, get it?
Right. I want to say, right, the logo of Veggie Patch is genuinely my favorite one of the season so far. I love it. Look at it.
It's great.
They are ready to go. Oregon, I feel like it's yet again, it's going to be one of those tester maps. It's going to be your comfort picks, because obviously you don't want to go out too far. It's like you predicted earlier, Jerry, on the case of you don't go constant coastline. This is the first play day. You want to get ready to play together. Now, obviously, Triton banning out Consulate is interesting because Triton actually played it a couple of times in the last season and played very well. The big thing that actually stops me on there for that saying, okay, Triton, they took away Consulate. Why? Earl Grey, the IGL for Newell, is playing on the side of Veggie Patch. And Earl Grey played against Flight on Consulate. Flight now in Yukon, and they had a really good game on Consulate. They played it very smartly, played it very strongly. I feel like Triton maybe having that impact their decision a bit. But we're going into this game, Jerry, and I'm simply saying a lot of these teams are going to be very, very fun. Now, you're looking at this in Harambe World in chat. It's an interesting name. And I'm gonna go on I'm gonna say it's Earl Grey. I'm gonna go out on a limb here because I love it. There's the rivalry. Sardine and Octagon going up against Earl Grey, Sturksy, and then people that they know as well. Because Earl Grey plays, and the rest of the Cardiff people play a lot with Stakes and Tsunami. It just
great
ties
names.
itself in a bow.
Everyone's got such great names, especially on the side of Veggie Patch. Like Stakes, brilliant. Tsunami, excellent. Sturksy, not the best name, but he's a name that we know quite well.
It's the person, not the name that we love.
Yeah, exactly. And he had a bit of a sordid time last season. I think he was on, I believe, was it Sniper Monkeys last season that he was playing with? And they just did not perform to the level that we expected, given the strength of the individual members of that roster. And off the back of a really nice first season for Sturksy on, I believe, Czechsland, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it was a strange turnaround for him, and he'll hope that season 3 is more like season 1. And looking at this ban phase, this is already very different from the ban phase we saw. Well, different in one major regard from the ban phase we saw earlier on Oregon between Team Morph and Team Atlas, and that is the Flores. Now, Flores, we saw had such an impact when it came to removing certain bits of utility. The way that he's able to get rid of, say, the mute jammers or bandit batteries that will deny a closet into games room wall entrance is unique, and it's special. It's a very efficient way of doing things. It's maybe a little bit higher risk than running a Zofia or an Ash who can try and breach from outside just using that classroom window, but you gain intel as you go along anyway, so you help your teammates drone out that particular area, and then it's also fairly low risk in terms of risking the operator's life. So the utility, it's more likely to be taken down, but the Flores will survive in going for those types of plays.
So a couple of things I do want to talk about. Obviously, Harambe World will be Earl Grey. Sturksy smells, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that is Sturksy, probably. Yeah, good interesting choice of the name there. I want to look towards Majer being in here because he's not on the roster.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Let me have a look. That's the Mileysaurus. Don't think that's Majer. So there is actually a player missing from this side, and that is going to be Octagon. I'm not sure whether he's there.
Well, Miley
T-Rex #1 is a pretty good name. I'm going to say that that's Milesaurus.
Yeah, there's a slight difference in the names and the rosters that we're looking at on Wikipedia and things, and what we're seeing here. But this is the team that are playing today. That's the important thing. I believe Matems and Megere played a lot together last season on Triton. Sorry, yeah, Matems and Megere played a lot together last season. So they have that kind of synergy. They'll understand each other, and yeah, it makes perfect sense that they're here together. So that's quite nice, I suppose. Harambe World I have seen before, but I just can't remember what. Oh no, I'm thinking of Juice World.
This is Earl Grey.
Yeah, this is Earl Grey. Yeah, I think he has a couple of different names that he goes by at different times. But Sardine is gonna finish off Harambe. Rip Harambe. It's 2016 all over again. Was it 2016? Am I getting that right? It feels like 2016.
I think it was 2016. All I remember was it was the first domino to the end of the world, pretty much. It feels like. But yes, Bandit's going to be taken away off the board. Earl Grey slain by Sardine. And these are two players that I remember back when Board was in the comp pool and we all played on a team together. Myself, I was on first team.
What?
Replay's going to kill himself, which you shouldn't do that, kids. Please. We all love you. And Replay, if you do need help, please reach out. We are available. My DMs are open to anyone and everyone. Mental health isn't a joke. And as much as I'm saying it in the context, I genuinely mean that. If you do need help with mental health, please. It's a good time to remind people that you're loved. And here at Duel, we love everyone.
Yeah.
Especially frogs.
Oh man, I love frogs.
I
love frogs. A trade coming out of sorts there. 2 kills each way. Sardine finding stakes and the Alder getting the better of Trexno the Sledge. Sturksy has moved his way on into Master. Very aggressive position to be holding. And I think that's completely removed this presence on that side. Sardine is outside and aware of the diffuser on the balcony. Has to drone it out though and does not spot Sturksy. Looks left but doesn't look right as he crosses the road, and that could be his demise in a couple minutes time. Megere and Matems both pushing through that duo we mentioned from Attic, and they're doing the drone work, but with 1 minute left it's going to be a bit difficult, and I taste an easy kill coming through here for Sturksy.
Unless Sardine reads into that diffuser will be picked up, but Sardine's gonna walk in. He doesn't spot Sturksy, and well, that's gonna be the first kill opening up in this last minute of the round. Tsunami's gonna be adding on to it, takes away Megere. It's all down to Matems trying to push with that reinforcement, and the Banshee is gonna make it horrible. You either go into the rotate and face the smoke and the Melusi, or you go to Trophy Door and you're about to face that Alder. If Sardine is even playing, if Sturksy is even playing that, he has a diffuser. He doesn't even need to move. 25 seconds left on the clock, and Matems needs to make something happen, Jerry.
Another toxic gas canister coming through, and that's just making this all the harder for Matems. Could go through the rotate, but has to risk crossfire, choking on that gas. Maybe hoping that some aggression will come his way. Can't land the headshot here, and that's going to be Spacey Bobcat doing the dirty there, rounding the corner from the rotate and just finishing off what he started with the tickle of the SMG. Not being enough, second tickle is deadly.
It really is. I mean, that SMG-11, I feel like the way that Veggie Patch played that was beautifully. Obviously, they lost Earl Grey, Harambe World, but at that moment, they reined it in. They played it smart. They played it carefully. They didn't let Triton really run away with it. I feel like Replay's frag grenade really ruined it.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
At least in the mental side.
Okay. Jerry, we talked about this last map. Yana's soft destruction capabilities would have helped a lot. Think about just at least ADS burning. Or you get a Yana Gemini and they say, well, they're pushing. So that's a smoke canister gone. One less smoke canister could have changed that.
Yeah. It's the power of smoke canisters, right? And the strange thing about it is that for a while we were seeing, Tachanka being hailed as like, oh, he's going to change everything. He's basically, stacking with smoke and he's going to be incredibly overpowered. He didn't make the splash that people thought he would. And then he got a buff to both the radius and the time, I believe, possibly the damage. It was a lot of buffs in one go. I may be wrong on one of those, but to his Shumika launcher, and it still isn't enough to make him see play, neither alongside or in replacement of smoke. It's a very rare occasion that we get to see him, and I genuinely do think it's down to the fact that you're not as active as a Tachanka. You have to actually devote time to bringing out that Shumika launcher and spending those grenades, because as a smoke, it's almost like a set and forget. You smoke off an angle, it lasts long enough, and it covers a wide enough radius so that that's peace of mind. Whereas and then you can whip out the SMG, you can whip out the shotgun and do work with those. But with Tachanka, you kind of have to be ready. You have to know exactly where you're placing those things. You've got to be accurate with them, and you're a sitting duck when you're doing so. So it's an interesting dynamic, those two. And right now we're seeing Spacey Bobcat holding, as is tradition, elbow with that smoke.
Yeah, that smoke, obviously, 10 seconds on each time. It's such a long 15 seconds. All I know is that if you are in that blue bunker right now, that is such a long time. Now, Replay can get that Gemini out and can get that information, but you're just going to get picked off by the SMG-11. There's nothing to do but wait. And with 2 minutes left, you might as well wait for Matums. Going to be trying to get this meeting hatch open. But they're going alone, and you might have spotted something. It's a little blue outline, and it's the name of Stakes as well, Jerry. That does lead a lot of issues. Elbow will be pulled back, and Veggie Patch not really feeling like any loss of control.
No, the blue area has been successfully taken, though, by Triton. Obviously, falling back out of there makes a big difference. And now Trexno can try and open that wall. C4 comes out by Tsunami into Harry Potter, but that's not going to connect with anyone. Sardine, in the meantime, finds two. A headshot onto Tsunami and Harambe. Earl Grey goes down as we know him. Sturksy now, he may smell, but he's sitting inside a freezer with that older Stakes as well, holding a very similar angle, but further back, and anyone trying to push down main is going to be very much met with resistance, but the push comes through E-Box instead. Replay trying to land shots onto the play by Rotate, but instead takes the head of Sturksy, and now the diffuser can go down. Sardine, who opened the round, is felled. Stakes finds the head of Reply as well. Replay, I keep calling him Reply. Trexno can try and stick a diffuser, but is in fact trying to bait here in an effective 3 versus 2 in favor of the attackers. Stakes still on the prowl from this freezer doorway. He walks on out, but Majere has it covered. Head comes clean off the Jaeger, all on the smoke, but Spacey Bobcat is shut down by Matums, finally making his move from freezer, and the pinch from many angles works wonders for the attacking side of Triton.
I feel like a really big issue. Sturksy needed to win his gunfight. I
Yeah.
hate to be that brutal, but that is the case. That freezer position is so powerful because that default spot for the plan, that's where all these players are. That's where they're all trying to get that diffuser down, because they know as soon as that's there, you're forcing a wide swing for that cross. You're forcing Veggie Patch to get really aggressive to go for this, and you can hold it from up above.
Ooh.
But Sturksy, if you're playing in freezer, you're able to swing, you're able to find that kill. You're not able to land these shots, and you get taken out, which gives Triton enough time to rotate around. Because of that, they go up against that highway corridor, and if you know that the last 2 players are in freezer, you don't need to worry so much. At that point, we just saw Triton really play around Veggie Patch very nicely, and just took control of the fact that Sturksy, the player who needed to land his shots, couldn't. It's unfortunate, but that's the case that we're in right now, and Veggie Patch have decided kitchen meeting is the way to go, Jerry.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm interested by this. I feel like this splits opinions more than people acknowledge. I was watching CCSW the other day with the wonderful Grace and also Chief on the mic,
So
and they
the only one I didn't do. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm just that good a friend. Sorry.
Thank you.
And they were adamant that this is the superior site, and I personally disagree, but I could see their argument. It was just it's interesting because their sort of logic, I suppose, was that Attic is a stronghold and it's essential to the defensive meeting. Now, I think that's something we would all agree on. You need that Attic control to hold onto meeting and make this site viable. Whereas on kitchen dining, the usual approach is to hold on to small tower, but also you can try and hold on to kids' dorms and have a long angle towards default plant. However, you are perhaps a little bit weak to a plant by flag inside of dining and a push just through showers to accommodate for that. So my logic was that I feel as though kids' dorms is a far harder location to assault than Attic. Attic gets taken by attackers far too easily and facilitates a plant in meeting 9 times out of 10. So I would like to see whether Triton prioritise that here as we take it away from the debate, but I also want to hear your opinion while they go for this top floor clear.
Well, we're not going to get the chance. Ilgray's going to be able to find that opening kill. We'll find Majere, and the C4 goes up. The refrag will be able to deny it. That's T-Rex number 1. Becoming T-Rex number 2 to die. The meteor of Ilgray just hit a little bit too hard, and, well, it happens like that. Personally, going back to the matter at hand, I'm kitchen dining, Jerry. And I love casting with Chief, okay? It has to be said. And we always have this debate. We always talk about it because we both like the other side. His reasoning is exactly the same as yours. You look at this position, it's a stronghold. An aggressive team, which you tend to see over in NA, can really just shut down any push in the top floor. You see Ilgray being able to find those opening kills. Maybe a player in Kid Storms, or double bunk. They can really shut it down. And the attackers, they know they got to deal with Attic. So you commit your players towards that position. That's the central point, the bunker of your defensive setup. It's something that I've noticed, though, in EU, teams tend to prefer kitchen dining, and in NA, it tends to be kitchen meeting.
Yeah.
Whether that's the case today, Triton, they're going to prove us wrong on whether... They're going to prove someone wrong. Let's leave it at that.
Well, as this wall begins to be opened up, this is a very late breach coming through from Triton. They have not really got the bodies to force their way through here, and crucially, Tsunami sitting on that top floor with the hatch angle is going to be so deadly if he's not responded to. Harambe joining him. Tsunami will find that first frag, and Harambe tags on for the second, grabbing a triple on the round. It's an absolute slaughterhouse here as they've fallen right into the trap. A deadly crossfire at the very end, and Earl Grey is actually the one to finally collect on that. A quad kill on the round, I believe, for our beautiful ape friend.
Yes. Now, I'll be honest, Jerry, and I'm going to add on to this discussion that we've been having, because I love having it. It's a great one.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the attic wall, I'm looking at the meeting wall, and the biggest problem is when Cade is banned, because obviously what we saw was Earl Grey, he had the bandit charges up above and down below, but immediately Triton, they were able to swing. They were able to get that utility off the wall, and while it did waste a lot of time with the smoke canisters and everything, that wall opened up. And Veggie Patch, they were able to just look towards them. I mean, they won the round. They were able to get it, but Triton, they were able to get that wall open very quickly. If they committed maybe a couple of frag grenades towards that attic, they could have got them top floor very, very fast.
I think there's one missing ingredient there, and frags do play into this, but more importantly, there was just no Maverick, right? Like, Maverick makes that
Maverick's on the board
20 times easier. And
here's the thing. With the Maverick, yeah, that's actually something that you're entirely correct about. With the Maverick, you just bypass the top floor when it comes to utility, yeah. Tsunami will get down and will be picked up. It's alright, Michael, we love you. I hope Tsunami's Michael. I can't really remember, actually.
But look, you at least can take a stab at these names. I'm just going off what I see, so I wouldn't have known that Harambe was Earl Grey. Like
you'll never guess Earl Grey's actual name, and you know,
Tim.
It's not, shockingly enough.
Is it that I won't guess it because it's really obscure?
Yeah, it's one like you won't guess. You'll never guess it. You won't.
January.
Chaddington, I think.
Chaddington.
Yeah, but basically, having a Cade in that position, you can get both of those walls. It makes life a lot easier. It's a lot harder to get, but that Maverick, like you said, it denies a lot of it. Obviously, this is all academic. This is for the next round that we go to that side, because Earl Grey, he's going to be on these north stairs, and stakes being down below. The roam here for Veggie Patch is where they want to have a lot of impact.
We're so used to the stakes being high, but right now he's, well, presumably sober, and also
I hope sober, yeah.
And also on the middle floor. But yeah, stakes are not high right now. He is lurking instead on that middle floor. Tsunami hiding inside of Attic, trying to hold control of that area. Sturksy does manage to deny the second half of that Selma breach, which is crucial because it allows a sightline for Sturksy to fight through and not a walk-in for Trexno if he was still alive, which he is not. No more ace. Now you've only got the Hibana pellets to try and complete that breach. And sometimes the sightline's all you need there, but it's going to be difficult. And he's spent already 2/3 of his pellets now on that breach. in the attic wall. Majere looking to follow on through. Takes a bit of damage, maybe a little overzealous there. And Matems may want to open up a long angle with some more of those pellets, but he's got to be thinking about saving some for a rotate as Replay takes out Sturksy. Stardini's just in. He's decided to wander on into Big Window. Does find Spacey Bobcat. He's still there. Doesn't hold the fuser. He's just taking fights. And he gets another one. No, he goes down, in fact, as Harambe. Now it's a 2 versus 3. Replay and Matems standing with Majere and all pushing from different angles.
Yes, right now, Stakes and Harambe, they really need to step up. I mean, they need to play together, because you look at Earl Grey, he's alone. What he needs is Stakes covering that kid's window. Earl Grey has incredible mechanical ability, and in the last season of Yukin 2, stepped up his game sense as well. The question is it going to show right now? The drones will be taken away. Replay will be able to walk into that trophy side. Earl Grey will try and take the gunfight. Doesn't land the shots. That sightline means that Replay will have to come around and have to do some heart breach. But right now, it's going to be Earl Grey finding Matems. Stakes will be taken away, and Earl Grey, a 1 versus 2, full HP. 6 kills already. Can he make it 8? Time's ticking down, and the Banshees will go off. Majere gets down. Replay's on his own. He's able to win it out, though. Earl Grey gets put in the dirt.
What an execute coming through right there. From the 3 reigning attackers, they went for that very split push, trying to get the frags, play off each other's intel, and it just about worked at the end. But what a showing from Harambe in the 2 versus 3, grabbing 2 of those kills and just ever so slightly losing out in the final 1 versus 1. I want to give a shout out to Science, man. That was some top tier observing. Just any one of those fights could have happened at any moment, and you could see the kind of laser vision, everyone sort of crossing each other's line of sight, or almost just about crossing those line of sights. As soon as the rotate came through from Earl Grey into lower attic, we drop down to his view. We see that kill, and it was wonderful. So great play there. Great observing by Science. Yeah, just want to get out, because that was awesome.
Yeah, Jerry, obviously, all of these players are incredible to be here. Obviously, Earl Grey being a Yukin 2 player and incredibly mechanically gifted. Shockingly enough, he's good at aiming.
Yeah.
But it's like I've said before, Jerry.
So much team damage in these prep phases. We've seen it
Hey,
3 times now.
Hey, it's been working out sometimes for them. You're looking at this, and it's something I've said. A bad observer will always be noticed and talked about.
Yeah.
A good observer, they'll never know. You'll never notice a good observer,
But
and I think
an amazing observer
Science
does
said
get
to me.
I feel like
Okay, right, Jerry.
there's a third tier where you're an amazing observer and you get noticed for it.
An amazing observer gets noticed by other observers. But
Okay,
to
yeah,
the
yeah,
general
fair.
viewer, people like Science get nothing, and that's why I do my best to make sure we send Science some love, because we do love Science here.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. His name does not do him justice. He is an artist.
He's a man of both.
Yes. Anyway, let's stop gushing about this guy because he can hear us,
But
and I'm
he's
sure
so
his ego is
cute.
probably inflating right here. Not that he has like a big ego. Again, I'm just gushing about it.
No.
So let's stop. Let's turn our attention to T-Rex number 1, as I only really found out that his name should be T-Rex number 1 as you said it a couple of rounds ago, and not Trexno, which sounds like a kind of comic book supervillain. He's droning. He's checking that no one's playing Shaiko, which is important because it enables the push through into construction to be a little bit safer, but Tsunami on E-Box is allowing for that crossfire between himself and Spacey Bobcat that is just keeping the bait for the time being. What we really need to see from Triton right now is some pressure above, some pressure in that E-Box hatch, and to make sure that it's not a possibility for them. I do believe that's actually already come through, not entirely sure right now, but Tsunami has backed on out of that position, saying that it's probably a bit too hot for him, as Spacey Bobcat and now letting loose that final toxic gas canister, maybe expecting a little bit of aggression, but it's not coming his way, and that is going to be Blue locked up for the taking. E-Box has not been opened up as of yet, so still a risk of pushing into Blue for these attackers, and they need to make it a little bit quicker, especially because Harambe is on the prowl.
He is. He's swinging from tree to tree looking for his next target. Right now, Sardini's going to take some damage. You need to push down little stairs. You need to have this control just to make sure there isn't a flank and you can take pillars. Right now, though, Matems is going to take some damage. One team to open up the hatch. Replay doesn't care, though. We'll find Stakes on the entry. A minute left, and time is starting to tick down, but right now, so's the HP of Veggie Patch. T-Rex number 1 will be knocked to the dirt, and Spacey Bobcat will find replay. A 4 versus 3 is Harambe World's Bandit Charge will find that frag, and while funny, it is no less impactful. 45 seconds in this last ingress onto site has to take place.
Tsunami is in a position where he can be rezzed just out of the range of that toxic gas canister, very luckily. Sardine holding the angle, but not rewarded for his patience. And now with 30 seconds left, Diffuser down in E-Box, easily retrievable. There's lots of problems for Triton to have to face. They need at least a pick before they try and go for this. Really, a plant is not viable. Megere losing out in the 1 versus 1 against Harambe, who grabs another kill on the round after picking up that first from the electrocution. Sturksy finds the head of Matems, and now Sardine in a 1 versus 4 with so little health. Can't quite connect, in fact does connect with the head of the player inside of Freezer, but is traded out in response.
Okay, Jerry, a couple of words for you to think about.
Yes.
Bottom floor again. All right. Triton, roam clear. Earl Grey was given way too much control and way too much freedom. I feel like Triton, they went a bit too much towards that blue position. They said, okay, we've got to take control. We've got to get control of it. They focused hyper, to a hyper degree on that. To the point where Matems, for the second round in a row, or the second round at least, was going into meeting alone. And while it wasn't an issue the first time, it certainly was that second, because you had Earl Grey up above putting so much pressure on, taking away that damage. And then suddenly they didn't have that control to help out. There was a lot of small things that added up to have a really, really big impact. And I'm gonna shoot back to this sideline now. I want to see Triton read into something that I also noticed in the last round. And that is that, on this side, there was very little utility committed over towards the dining side. Now, you said on Thursday, you were watching Chief and Grace discuss the benefits of a meeting kitchen hold. Well, here's one of the biggest problems that I've seen with it. A really, really good mechanical team can get aggressive in dining, open up that kitchen door with 1 Sophia charge, and have control of sight and start going for a plan. Obviously, if you can get a player up above, that helps even more with the hatch and the vertical play, but it's something that can be taken control of very, very fast, and even just getting into kids. Combine it with your sledge and Zafir. Your sledge goes up above, you open up big window, you open up the wall, you suddenly have the hatch. There is a lot of things that could go wrong.
It's certainly the chaotic approach. I feel like you leave yourself open to some retakes in that situation, that the post plant is difficult, as you don't really have the best line. You're kind of inviting the defenders to try and come and take the kitchen, and a lot of the time as an attacker in that situation, you actually just want to sit in the kitchen. You don't want to hold long angles or anything. So it can get a bit claustrophobic and chaotic in the final sort of yellow timer, 45 seconds once the plant's gone down. But yeah, it's an option. The option, however, that Triton have opted to go for here is a top floor clear. They want to clear kids and dorms, but they're doing so from the big window. Now, this is a very strange play in my eyes, because you look at the way you usually clear this area when it's the site, and the push through closet is pretty integral to locking out a lot of the anchor positions, shall we say. These roamers can anchor up in that position quite nicely, and they even have the support like we saw a couple of games ago with the Echo playing below. We're seeing it again. Sturksy has that angle onto big window, but he is being choked out right now as Replay is lurking, and Matems and Major have already pushed their way into Shower's corridor. This could get pretty explosive pretty fast.
It has. Replay 444, by the way, on the Ash. It's no coincidence, I'd imagine, but Replay's been able to sneak in very, very carefully. That wall will be opening up. T-Rex number 1 will down stakes. Doesn't get the kill, but you don't need to just yet. You need to make sure no one can get there. When Major on top white stairs, this is looking good. You take control of that dorm's window. You make sure Tsunami can't push because you have a player on the window being flushing him out. Doesn't find that frag just yet, but a lot of damage is there. Replay's going to be able to find Earl Grey and will start this push into the building. But Sturksy is there as well. T-Rex number 1 will find stakes. Tsunami with a refrag on number 1, but Sturksy falls. It is a flurry of flags, and as a music man, you might even say a symphony. Tsunami being taken away by Sardine. It's all down to the smoke of Spacey Bobcat, and Sardine executes it very fast. You said there were a lot of issues, but I feel that Triton dealt with them very nicely.
It certainly did. It was a clean take as it turned out, and I feel as though one of the key problems was that very first frag that we saw. It wasn't confirmed until that flurry of kills in the middle, but States being downed by Big Window just left his compatriot in the castle. I'm trying to remember exactly who was on that. It was Tsunami, thank you. Just kind of left him high and dry. There was a player at the top of white, the sledge repelling on kids, and he knew that Zafir was lurking on Big Window. So he was pinned down completely, and once the frag came in, it was panic stations, no opportunity to try and refrag as you might try and do in that situation if you have the Jaeger up and by your side. But made the right call to fall back to site, but ultimately that's top floor control completely foregone. And meanwhile, the take through showers was going pretty nicely. We didn't get to see too much of it, but the frags fell the way of Triton on their attack, and that's rounding off essentially what is a successful half for Triton with 3 attacking rounds as they go into the second half.
I feel like Triton, they definitely stalled out around about the mid part when Veggie Patch picked up their rounds, but Triton have got positives. They did win Season 2 for a reason. This is a really good team behind the wheel of the defense, and I expect them to keep up this pedigree. I feel the reason Veggie Patch are giving such a good game is that these players are all talented individually, and more importantly, these players have a lot of chemistry together. I mean, Sturksy and Earl Grey, they had a little bit of a history before. I don't think I'm allowed to say it, so we'll not get into it too much, but they had a little bit of beef, but I'm happy to see that they put it behind them and really started dominating right now, though. Triton, their first defensive round. What can they do with this?
Well, they've already... I feel as though Veggie Patch are already one up in my books against Triton here because they're opting to bring the Maverick on this top floor attack, and that's just going to make it so much easier no matter what it is that Triton decide to bring. They do have the Mute in play, for instance, as that breached denial, and Stakes is going to have a very easy time getting on through into Attic. I don't know why you would ever drop the Maverick from a lineup if he's available on Oregon. He just has so much value all across the map on every single site, and here is probably his, at this point in the meta, his signature location in Siege, I think, is getting this wall open at virtually no cost to the attackers. So he's also opening up a sight line as his sort of tradition to make sure that players at the back of Lower Attic can't be too aggressive, and you can see Tsunami trying to hold that, and the wall has been softened up, and now they have that breach open. Stakes is actually running the DMR, I forget what the exact name of it is on Maverick, so that this wall can be softened up a bit more easily. Gon 6 goes out to remove a Banshee, and the nades can start to come through. No catching utility. In fact, there is a catcher in this play, and that is the ADSs of Jaeger, but only one sat back there. So Trexno does take a tiny, tiny bit of damage from that frag grenade, but will live to tell another tale. No, he won't! He's gone now.
Sturksy smells fear at the moment and is able to find a kill, and Sardine will add onto it with a refrag of his own. And right now we're looking at Stakes just pushing through, realizing Sardine probably backed up for fear of a refrag. You hold that position, you can get up that attic side. Replay's gonna be able to find Sturksy now, and Stakes will yet again the refrags. They're coming through beautifully. Stakes is able to find another one on the entry. What a shot onto Matums. Majeda will be able to pick you off. You death by 1,000 paper cuts, as our wonderful caster Whippet would say. And now it's all down to Spacey Bobcat and Earl Grey. Earl Grey, 10 and 5 right now. A really, really tremendous effort on fragging. But they're splitting apart. They're playing Divide and Conquer. They realize that they're just going to walk into one point and they're just going to become feeding for time for replay. Time to keep down.
That Banshee is not nice, though. Harambe will be known his location. Majer now holding against that. 2 versus 2. He will swing and win his fight. Spacey wins his own one as well, taking off the head of Replay, who was playing prone inside of gains. And that's a great little last-minute adjustment from from Veggie Patch, rather, to secure their first attacking round. They've finally... they're taking the lead yet again in this matchup. They continue to one-up Triton.
Yeah, very nicely played. I mean, Veggie Patch, that came down to... Their pushes were very coordinated. Their aggression was measured. I feel like Stakes realized, okay, I've been able to get a couple of refrags. But if I stay in Attic, I'm going to stall out. I need to put them on the back foot. And while all that happened, we had Spacey, Bobcat, and Bill Gray working together and thinking, what can we do? So by the time that we did see stakes being felled, he'd already found a couple of kills, and Harambe rotated around. They had it in mind. They knew what they wanted to do. They played it very nicely, and it came down to the gun skill. Honestly, there's no reason I was excited for this game, Jerry, and they are demonstrating it. What I do want to see, however, from Triton is maybe be a little bit more aware of this late round and the positioning there as well. Obviously, Replay was super low HP, but I feel like the positioning maybe just play for the reflex. Play together. Try and get those 2v1 engagements if you can, if you know that they're rotating around.
We see Sardine and Harambe, both animals, literally, reaching double digits after 7 rounds, which is very, very nice. So the question for this game for me is, who is mightier, the fish or the monkey? And right now, it's just about the monkey. Sits on that 1 kill advantage and the 1 round advantage, far more importantly. But I do like counting frags. It's fun. And I think Megere... Whoa, what the... Okay, that's a reaction. Harambe dropping the nice try in chat. And Replay is, well, going to be spending the rest of the round on cams, I guess.
Yeah. I feel you'll really enjoy this, by the way. Sardine Smith is another fish, actually. The Wahoo. And we
That's
really do
I've
love
never
it.
heard of that fish.
He genuinely is a fish, because otherwise Sardine wouldn't touch it. But Earl Grey, an incredible shot there to start things up. Like you said, Replay taken away. One of those players who was able to find a couple of kills in the last round. Replay has been a strong force to the side of Triton. Obviously, Sardine a little bit more frag-wise, but you can't take it away from Replay. He has been there, and although obviously now he can't exactly be there. Veggie Patch, they're committing the utility very nicely. I feel they've gone around with the Maverick and they said, yeah, stakes, you used the Maverick, we did quite well, but they didn't really do that much. We could still go down below. I feel like the Maverick should still be brought, but that's just me.
And he made that DMR work for him as well. He grabbed a couple of frags that I was not
Beautifully.
expecting with the 3x scope that just made me think, oh, okay, so he clearly does know what he's doing with this thing. And it takes some skill to make the M4 look bad, right? That was a really nice round from him all round. So yeah, surprising that he's not being brought through. Instead, we get the Habana being brought by Sturksy. Perhaps wanting a little bit more speed in their take. I mean, it did come down to the wire that last round, and it did look a little bit shaky at points. But they're doing well to force them back. Lack of frags means that they have to take this fight, but Sturksy is just good enough to do exactly that. And a 5 versus 3 will ensue with every single one of these defenders just choked back in this white stairs location.
Yes, but there's one player that isn't on site right now. That's going to be Megere, ready for something just to catch them off guard. You see that player's coming up white now. You have to support Matums. You realize the push is going to be coming. Sardine has to cover one angle. Megere's going to be covering the other. Stakes getting taken off the board. Earl Grey will be able to walk in, finds 1 kill, but gets refragged by Sardine. 30 seconds left in a 3 versus 1. Megere, I want to see you being able to pull this up, but it seems like Veggie Patch know exactly where you are. They see you as well. And that plant is going down in the default spot, but it is being covered. Megere knows you have to get on the aggression. You can't even find one. Veggie Patch, nicely played. What more can you say than that?
Nearly impossible situation at the end for the Jaeger. Unfortunate as well for Sardine to be caught reloading after having sprayed down that drone. We saw, for instance, in the last round where the aforementioned Maverick of Stakes did get into that position of Kid's bedroom after grabbing a couple of kills, and those foot level holes worked against him. He couldn't find cover. This is a couple of rounds ago now, and it was an easy spray to finish him off. In the end, it didn't matter because the attackers won that round too. But that's now Veggie Patch getting a diffuser down. And finally, actually, the first time this game, stringing a couple of rounds together. It's been back and forth all the way up to this point, and now they have their first 2 attacking rounds. Triton, I think they're feeling a little shaken. This is the team that won last season of Bull, and Veggie Patch, a completely new side, are really impressing me.
Jerry,
Yep.
I think I've messed up.
What?
I don't think I was meant to tell anybody who Harambe was.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
I would ask why, but
The Liquipedia says Earl Grey, so you know, you get what you deserve.
yeah.
Big thing for me from Triton, a big adaptation I want to see is I want to see a Rome a little bit more influential. I mean, Megere, there was so much potential hiding down insecurity in that last round. I mean, look at the way Veggie Patch has been playing. It's been very two-dimensional. They don't bring the flank watch operators. They might have flank cameras, but a lot of Veggie Patch's takes are very, very focused on the actual gunfights ahead of them rather than watching behind. I feel the Triton, they can take advantage of that very nicely.
Yeah, there's been very few attempts at a backstab. Veggie Patch were certainly attempting it themselves on their defensive round. Sometimes it left their anchors high and dry, but occasionally it would make the difference. And I'm thinking, for instance, about that round where they retook the attic on a basement defense. And that was just something that Triton weren't prepared for, even as organized and experienced a team as they are. So I like now that we're seeing some extra aggression coming through from Triton to try and punish that style of play, but Harambe is going to find replay early on. That Ella just caught rotating out of position. Again, I did say that's what they needed, that extra aggression, but it didn't work, and now I feel dumb.
Megere, stay alive, Megere, please, for the love of God. If you have this staircase, you end the round. Simply put, when this late push comes in, that's when you strike. You hear that, Gemini, you realize, that's a free kill, but do I want it just yet? I want to wait for them to fully commit, Jerry.
Yeah, they have no idea he's here. Majed is going to get a freebie right now. He finds the head of Harambe and has to swing on. Does land some shots on Tsunami, almost finishing it off with the wall bang. Spraying a couple of shots through the wall again. You miss every shot you don't take, but he misses all of those anyway. The push comes through. Sturksy finds one, but Tsunami shut down by Matems, and now it's all chaos as the push comes through, but Sardine is just there to shut it down with a second headshot as he's downed in response. Megere also downed, and now it's a 1 versus 1 at the drop of a hat. Matems trying to get in position where he can play off the intel of his down but not out teammate. Sturksy is so lit, the flash comes through but it doesn't connect. He knows that it's E-Box, but the win from Sturksy! He gathers the credit for one of those down, Spacey Bobcat with the other, and somehow Veggie Patch put together that attack and they push themselves on to match point.
Yeah, Sturksy smelling a couple of kills there. You figured he fancied them, and very, very nicely done. You go for the flashbang over towards Highway. That's exactly when the player was saying, right, I'm going to go this way. But no. That's not what happened. Sturksy was able to just go on the other side, gets that kill, and like you said, pushes them on. The big, big problem there, though, for Veggie Patch is they've just realized that their flank watch and their droning might need some tightening up. That Yana, if you're going to have that Yana... I don't get it, Jerry. How do you not drone out tower stairs on a bottom floor push?
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Most teams you look at will make sure that T3 down to T1 is droned out.
I don't get how Veggie Patch won that. Like, that shouldn't have been allowed to happen. You got to punish those sorts of mistakes. I mean, Triton did punish that mistake. That's what I don't get. They punished that mistake, and yet they still somehow lost. It was just bizarre. And in the 3 versus 1, was it a 3 versus 1? It all happened so fast. It was definitely a 2 versus 1 at some point, but
3 versus 1.
Definitely. I mean, an effective. It was an effective 1 versus 1 at the very end with 2 living drones, and you've got to be backing the player with 2 living drones in that situation, and somehow they don't come out on top. It's just, yeah, bizarre. That's a great Black Eye going out there from Megere, and it speaks to the fact that Triton want to be a bit more aggressive. They want to go for a run out and grab an early frag, which, I mean, they played aggressive in that last round, and maybe they just didn't have the luck on their side, I think. That may be all it comes down to. I know it's bad form for analysis to come down to luck, but I'm perplexed.
I mean, I'm being told by Science who did have a really good luck. Obviously, Ilga is able to kill the first one, and then... But they didn't join the second one. I mean, I'd still get somebody to drone it out, because as soon as you get to kill a player, you still don't know that's clear. Anyway...
You need a flank drone up, surely. Like,
you
just
need
by
something.
default cam.
You
Like,
have a Yana.
Yeah.
Take that extra 5-10 seconds. Get a Gemini down there. But, well... we have got to look towards this round. Obviously, Veggie Patch 1 round away from picking up their very first win. With Circe on the team after that last season, you got to say, well, this is looking a lot better now. A lot of these black eyes will be picked out. A lot of the defenders will be left to stew, actually, while we wait. The question is, though, do you try to want to drop down this hatch? Does Majaja want to just run up? I want to see flank games. If trying to win this round, it's going to be flanking.
Yeah, that's how they got an edge in the last round, and it's just a case of making sure they steal the round out afterwards. The flashes come through. I don't believe any of them connect onto Majere. He's out of the range, so he is in a position where he can easily take this fight. It's an effective crossfire. Oh, he looks away at the wrong moment. Stokesy gets that, and the second with the bearing 9. No way. Replay at least finds Tsunami to stem the tide, but the Yana is little benefit against the loss of 2 defenders so quickly, and with a minute left. Veggie Patch, they have the man advantage, and they look ready to make an execute fairly soon.
Yes, they do. That trophy, it's going to be the push. They have the Twitch drone. It gets taken down. That doesn't matter. You have out of control as well. This means that Triton looked at different angles. They have to be ready. But Earl Grey has decided he's going to lead the rest of Veggie Patch that aren't in Attic on a great pilgrimage over towards the White Stairs. Because you can get a player on White. You can get a player on Big Window. You can really divide and conquer and force Veggie Patch to take a lot of these... Oh, Triton, sorry. Take a lot of these gunfights. They just don't want to have. 25 seconds left, and the diffuser will be taken to Attic. If I was Spacey Bobcat, I'd just go over towards there, but no, you're playing on the window, you're giving support to Sturksy, who's going to start this push off. Earl Grey's going to be able to find that first kill. Matums as an answer, finds a second with Sardine. Sturksy gets one as Sardine, finds a second. We're now on a 1 versus 1. Sturksy has to win it again, and he does! Veggie Patch will be able to take away their first game and beat out the returning champions.
And that is the Sturksy of old, coming back to bite. Veggie Patch, a new side, taking the dub on their first day. That is the biggest upset by far we've seen today. And my oh my, like, this side, I don't know what to think, because that last... Oh my god, Sturksy got 90% cost, as did Sardine, to be fair, on the opposite side. But that is still an impressive stat on the winning side. A trade differential of plus 10. Nuts from Harambe. I don't know what to think about Veggie Patch, because in both of those final attacking rounds, they did not do a lot of things right. There were a lot of things that went wrong. The reason we saw that full rotate at the end, away from Master Bedroom, was because they'd spent all of their hard breach and didn't have a way into Closet, which was still shut. There wasn't any denial left on that wall. They managed to get rid of whatever had been denying it, if there had been anything, but the ace Selma charges were misspent elsewhere, or they'd been impacted or something. And that last second push, a 4 versus 3, where they just have to go for frags, I'd like to say that, from what we've seen, that kind of suits them, right? They have the fragging capability to do these ridiculous things at the end that Team Triton, an organised and coordinated team, just aren't expecting. And that's why they've won 4 attacking rounds in a row at the very end of it. That defensive half was so even for them, back and forth. Triton didn't grab a single attack, or a single defense rather, on Oregon. And that says something about the way that Veggie Patch played.
Yeah, and I don't think it was not that Maverick being let through at all. I feel like it definitely comes down to Veggie Patch being willing to be aggressive, because you look at the players on the team, and yes, they have the potential to get aggressive. They have Earl Grey, who is an incredible aimer. They have Circe, who has been in competitive Siege for a long time, knows how to play each role that he's put into. You have other players as well that you're looking at, Spacey Bobcat and Stakes, and they each have their own moment to shine, to the degree where I'm already going to say I think Veggie Patch are going to be one of the stronger teams in this competition in this season, and I feel like they're going to deliver really, really good games, because Triton won at the last one. And it wasn't exactly short work, but Veggie Patch, as soon as they went on to the attack, they were just comfortable, simply put.
Yeah, and that's a trait that a lot of teams don't have at this level. Like, if they show that they can attack decently on another map, and that today wasn't just a fluke, because I still have my reservations, given the nature of those wins, those round wins, then I think you're right. I think they are a force to be reckoned with. And I mean, even if I do have my reservations, even if there is a certain amount of, whether it be luck or negligence on the opposition side involved, they got a result. And that is a sign of a team that can win. That even if they are playing not necessarily at the top of their game, that they can get the frags and they can get it done in a 7-3 fashion as well. That's a pretty big statement against the victors of the whole of last season.
Yeah, it really is. Now, Jerry, obviously, we're not done this week.
No.
And I'm so glad that we're not, because if the games are anything like today, I feel like at the moment we haven't found the sniper monkeys of last season, or we haven't found the Minutemen.
no.
So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow and seeing what that has to bring. And speaking of tomorrow, I'm going to bring up the Wikipedia yet again, because I really don't want to get it wrong, because it's horrible. Tomorrow, we are going to have IOM, Imperial Mandem, facing up against the Deviants. Then Poggy Woggy, wonderful name, is going to be facing up against Team 9. Now, that's going to be games that you do not want to miss at all. They're going to be incredible. They're going to be amazing. Jerry, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. This is the first time either of us have cast in about a week, and it's been a magical experience, I must say.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's magical is a good word for it. There's certainly been a fair share of mythical creatures in our team lineups, especially, and of course, MILF were there as well. So,
Of course,
yeah. Thank you very much, I suppose, to everyone that's come along. Do turn up tomorrow for those matches, Poggy Woggy versus 9 and Imperium of Mandan versus Deviants. They are going to be absolute bangers, filled with so many familiar faces from all around the uni scene. But until then, have a good evening, and we'll see you. Goodbye.